Hey, gang, welcome to a bonus episode of Friendly Atheist podcast. In this, I am interviewing Benji Schwimmer, who is a professional dancer and choreographer, actor, all around great guy. I knew him from his years, a billion years ago on So You Think You Can Dance. So excited to have him here. We talked about his being raised Mormon and the church's involvement with his celebrity. It was wonderful. Unfortunately for me, I don't know how to do time zones, so I didn't get a chance to prep as well as I wanted. So I don't know, my energy is kind of wild coming in because I was definitely panicked, but he couldn't have been nicer. We had a really lovely conversation, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Benji, thank you so much for your time. Again, sorry, I don't know how time zones work. Here you go. First of all, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I want to
Sure.
I want to invite Benji Schwimmer to. I'd want to invite you on to come and talk about, so many things. And we've been talking a little bit, and you made a joke about how So You Think You Can Dance was like 3 months of your life 20 years ago. But I kind of want to
Yeah.
walk you through how influential it kind of is for people like me. I
Okay.
was, first of all, this is embarrassing, but I do primarily know you as like Lacey's brother. Because
That's
the
awesome.
third
I take
season
pride in
was the
that.
first. The third season was the first one I watched. It was the first summer I had spent in college, like staying behind and not coming home. And it became this thing that we would do together that was very, you become kind of unmoored sometimes when you move away from home. And
Yeah.
then I moved to Montana, and the same thing, I would walk 3 miles to my friend's house every like Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, twice a week. And that was just a thing we would all do together. And it was something we could talk about and bullshit about. And it was such a lovely little, like, it's very nostalgic for me, I guess. We're 20 years on.
hmm hmm
Interestingly, you're not the first reality show winner that we've had on this show. My
Mm.
co-host is friends with Richard Hatch from
Survivor.
Survivor. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is wild. But
I think he's a fellow ex-Mormon too.
oh, is he? Oh,
Pretty sure he was
interesting.
raised Mormon if I do recall. Yeah. I think.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. So I would love to kind of go back to when, like, I first, I guess, met you, became aware of you. Um, and you were this straight kid who is a ballroom dancer who is auditioning for the show. Can you get me into the first? How old were you when you auditioned, or I guess were cast?
So we're actually talking about So You Think You Can Dance I didn't know that. Okay.
I don't, not necessarily the thing. I just want to talk about like when I was introduced to you at this time. You
Uh,
were how old?
yeah. So I was 20, 21.
21. So about
21, I
my
think,
same
when I
age.
auditioned, and then it carried over like a couple of months into when I turned 22. And I think I was on
And
the live show in the summer when I was 22.
22. So you're a
hmm
22-year-old Mormon kid. What
Not a kid. I was
does
an adult. I was a man.
a Mormon young man?
Sorry, but yeah, yeah.
So what had your childhood looked like up until there? In so much, I understand you came from a dancing family, but
Yeah,
were you very involved in your church growing up?
yeah. I was super involved in my church growing up. My parents, not so much. My dad was like a convert in just to like have Mormon missionaries stop knocking on our door. And my mom, I was actually more connected through like my aunt and uncle and my cousin Heidi, who was my dance partner for like 19 years. She
Oh,
was on
sure.
my season of So You Think You Can Dance as well. She was a finalist. And
Mhm.
so yeah, like through that, and my mom a bit as well. We went to church kind of off and on, but for whatever reason, I was just really attracted to uh the faith practices as a kid. Like, I thought
Mm.
it was just a really good place to meet people, and it was the only place that I really didn't feel like bullied at school because I was a dancer. So it was
Mhm.
kind of a it was, at the time, it was a safe space for me. Little
Mhm.
do you know, right? But yeah,
Right.
I was heavily involved, heavily involved. I served a Mormon mission. It was probably still easily the greatest experience of my life.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, I served in Oaxaca, Mexico. It was
Oh, cool.
an indigenous area, very incredible. I learned Spanish, but I also learned like I learned how we call it chewing. Like I chewed about 3 other little dialects to kind of get around and to communicate with the people. And my favorite place on planet Earth, the best human beings ever. And yeah, so I did that right before. In fact, I came home from my mission, and I want to say 2 months later were the auditions for So You Think You Can Dance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not having danced for almost 3 years, and then I went like straight into it. Yeah,
Whoa. Oh
yeah.
my God. I bet that was a rough learning curve
It was
getting back
fun.
in
Yeah, it
shape
was
like that.
definitely a stress, but it was good. Yeah.
I bet. And am I remembering right that you had been engaged before you were you dated
Um,
women before?
yeah, I don't identify as gay, so I don't know where
Oh,
you
okay.
got that information from
Oh
exactly.
no, I'm
But
so sorry.
yeah, so I identify, I guess if I had to give a label, it's pan. I'm
Mhm,
attracted to men, women, trans people. It's very selective and it's very random. But
mhm,
so yeah, so I never said I was straight. That was one thing, is I never really lied about who I was. I only
sure.
spoke honest facts to kind of obfuscate from the
Mhm,
lingering issue of being in the closet. So for me, if I was attracted to a woman, it would be known. If I
mhm,
was attracted to a man, I would be quiet about it. And
mhm.
that's essentially kind of how I navigated my experience. And then being on reality TV, the largest percentage of voters were probably Mormon LDS people. So then you feel this obligation to kind of fulfill that golden child perspective. And at the time, I
Sure.
was a very good, uh, in terms of like Mormonism's kind of standards. I was very good. I was a temple attending, Mormon temple worker, and that was a very interesting experience for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to ramble too far off. But yeah, I was very active in the Mormon faith for quite a while, actually.
And I wonder if I'm sure it shaped your experience of that you were attracted to women as well as being, attracted to men. So it must have been a little bit easier to at least be like, well, I have this thread I can pull and just hang on to this and pretend this other part of me doesn't exist. Is that a fair
Yeah, kind
assessment?
of. So, yeah, I think that at least in like, because like, I don't know if you come from like a hyper religious experience prior
I don't.
to. You are a blessed human, that's for damn sure. So for me, it was kind of interesting because when I was 13 years old, we have these like worthiness interviews in the Mormon church where you go into a locked room with a grown man and they ask you questions about masturbation, about pornography, about where and how you touch yourself. Oh yeah. And it's a practice that has since been like not even changed, but like you can have the door cracked open a little bit if that's the case. So at 13, I was kind of a late bloomer, and I was very innocent about that. And like my parents, I was around the dance world all the time. There's a lot of gay friends that were over, so it was never like a thing.
Oh,
But so my bishop, I think he just kind of was like a little prejudiced about the whole "you're a dancer, so I'm going to ask you these questions even deeper," as if he's inspired by it. And he said, and the
sure.
bishop's like our pastor. He basically
Mhm.
said, "Do you find girls attractive?" I said, "Yes." And he's like,
Few.
"Okay, do you find boys attractive?" And I said, "Yes." And it was like no stress, no shame. And he looked at me
Mhm.
like this. And so since I was about 13, he secretly, along with like the higher uppers of the Mormon church, put me through like a like therapy program,
Ugh.
and hid it from my family. So my parents did not know. They said that I would like go to like church activities, and then they would van me off to like a special therapy space, not even at
Like
the
off
location
campus.
that my parents. Yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
This was happening
That's
while I was on So You Think You Can Dance. It lasted till I was 27. Yeah. So
what?
I did like aversion therapy. So they did the vomit inducing kind of therapies. Like there's a whole bunch of crazy shit they did to me for like quite a while. Quite a while, like 11 years of it. No, 13 years of it. Yeah.
I'm I'm so sorry that happened to you. That
Oh,
sounds terrible.
I can say it with a smile, but now because it's like I survived, and
Sure.
all the better for it in that sense.
Mhm.
But I worked extensively with like I think 19 different like lieutenant governors of different states to try and get the practice of reparative and aversion conversion therapy banned for minors.
Good
And
for you.
so we've done that. We still have I think like 6 states left. And then
Yeah.
speaking of the left, the right now is kind of fighting and pushing back on some of those
Oh, of
laws,
course.
and it's the legislation's just a mess. But yeah, so that was going on while I was on So You Think You Can Dance.
How did you have time?
Yeah,
Like that's great. Did you sleep?
no, I didn't. No, so
Oh,
like that's why when you ask, let's talk about so you think it's like it literally was a blur of like almost
sure.
trauma, and
Ugh.
at the time we weren't allowed to like leave our apartment complex. You're in the apartment complex, you're in the dance studio practicing learning choreography, or you're on
Uh,
set, and that's it. And they give you like a couple of hours, like 3 hours a week, to leave and like buy costuming if you need to buy like a solo or an entrance look, and that's it. And it's supervised with security. So I had to like sneak out of a fire escape with my cousin Heidi, and we would take a taxi to go to church on Sundays, and then we would come back. But I would get actually hypnotherapy sessions on like Skype, I think it was at the time. Yeah, I'm not
oh,
joking. Like this is like every day, every day. Yeah.
and they're and what is it? Is it one on one
The
usually?
hypnotherapy sessions. Yeah,
Just
because at that
like
time,
whenever you're.
no,
Go ahead.
no, no,
Just
please.
so you're meeting somebody on Skype, and it's obviously that's going to be one on one, but like, is it usually a group of like adult men talking to you about like, oh, penises are gross?
Uh, so actually, it's not like that at all. They would have
Oh,
me. There would be online forums that were they maintain like a sense of anonymity, and so we had screen names. It was very like by the book, and the only person that actually knew who you were had to be recommended from like Mormon church headquarters. So it was like very protected in that sense because a lot of them were married
mm,
men with kids, and they were fighting the temptation, or they called it SSA, which is gross, same-sex attraction. You can even say
oh
gay or homosexual because you're not being sexual, right?
no.
And so yeah, so we did that for a while, but then I went through like 6 different incarnations because none of these programs ever worked, right? So we did multiple different kinds of variations, but I did things from like the vomiting when I was like 14. They would make me look at pictures of art, like I don't know, like the statue of David's butt, and if they said if it looked nice, I had to take a sip of Epicac syrup, which would like induce vomit, right? And then because I'm
Oh
attracted to women as well, like I'm thinking, oh, it's working. So as you said, it's kind of like this weird confirmation bias, right?
yeah.
And then I just felt like, oh, it's a miracle, it's happening, like God's blessing me and I'm doing the right thing. And so I even more so had to be like golden child
Mm.
perfection. I didn't even masturbate. Like I was like really, really, really
Wow.
obedient when it came to that kind of stuff.
Was doing well as a performer, was that any kind of confirmation bias of like, well, I'm doing all the good things and look how well I'm
Mhm.
doing? Was there any of that?
During that time, I think is I've been given a lot of great opportunities. Don't mess it up. Don't
Mm.
throw it in God's face was kind of more my mentality. It didn't feel like, oh, if I sin, I'm going to make a mistake in a competition. I
Uh,
didn't feel I can honestly say I didn't feel that, but I felt a sense of I've been given like a great gift, and
sure.
I really shouldn't throw it in the face of like the higher power. And then ironically too, I think my only control that I had in my life was how I practiced and trained. Like
Mm.
dancing was my control, performing
Mhm.
was my escape. So those two things like were in a kind of way like an antidepressant for me,
Mm.
and it
Mhm.
helped me. Like the only thing that I could be in control of was how I practiced, how I trained, what my body could do, not what my body could feel. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was essentially, I think, kind of a secret to my, I
Mm.
think, early onset success.
Sure. And having your
Yeah.
cousin with you, did that make that feel easier or harder?
It was great. That in fact,
Yeah.
so just to put it into perspective, why I don't talk about the show very often. There's a few reasons why, but they treated me like shit on that
Oh.
show. I was an alternate, so I wasn't even casted in the show. And so I was boy 11 out of 10. And
Oof.
they have like a Vegas week where they starve you and they deprive you for like sleep for like a day.
Mm.
And I guess the boy that was cast in my role, like the all-American nerdy guy next door, looked just like me, was a tap dancer from like the
Mm.
Midwest. He failed the psych test. Like there's like videos of him online with bestiality or something like insane.
Oh
So
my
they call me up
God.
and they green screen my reaction. So I had already known that I wasn't casted because my cousin Heidi already got a yes. And then they
Yeah.
call me into like a sound stage with like a printed out screen of like theater seats. And they're all there. They had to recreate my haircut like to make it
Of
look like there was
course.
continuity that day. It's months later.
Yeah.
And so I
Oh,
was boy
wow.
11. They wanted me out early, so they really tried to mess with me. They gave me my dance partner, Danielle. I was the skinniest, scrawniest, like twerpiest kid there due to being sick from living in Mexico. And then they give
Mm,
me my incredible dance partner, Danielle, who just
incredible.
passed away recently.
Yeah.
A dear, dear friend of mine. She, yeah, they basically gave us hip hop because she's like the hip hop dancer of LA. And they're like, she's going to eat this kid alive. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so like they were always saying bad things. And then some of the competitors were just really not nice, not
That
nice
doesn't surprise.
people. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. Danielle was, I never. It feels very naive now that I'm thinking back on it. It never occurred to me that they were trying to tank you by like kind of, quote unquote mismatching you. And boy, that blew up
It
in
was a
their face.
mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mistake. Wow. And
Yeah.
if we don't, I really didn't even need to talk about the show. I was just trying to get in the
It's okay.
headspace of like when you kind of made your entrance into the sort of public world.
Hmm.
I would love to talk to you about the sort of Venn diagram of ballroom and the LDS church. Because
Okay.
I have noticed that, but then I realized embarrassingly it could just be because you, your cousin, your sister are like the prime famous ballroom dancers I know. But
Uh-huh.
but you mentioned something about BYU's ballroom program. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, like
You said that you said it used to be better funded than their football or their basketball
oh
program or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So I want to just to because it's like it's something that so you think you can dance this, but it's not really realistic. We don't call it ballroom dancing. Like that is like literally some box categorization that's absolutely bullshit reality TV
Okay.
nonsense. So sorry, I have a dog behind me. My 110-pound pit bull, Sandra Pitbullock, is barking at a UPS guy. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I
Um,
have an 85-pound pit bull like right here, Ski.
hey,
Here,
amazing.
you
All
can see
right.
her.
Oh
This
my
is Dottie.
gosh. Oh,
Hi,
hey,
Dottie.
Sandra. Uh.
Oh, she's so brave. She's protecting you.
Yeah. Hey, it's
So
okay.
brave.
Mama.
Oh.
Chicha, cállate. It's okay. It's okay, mom. It'll pass in a couple of seconds. I'm sorry. He's
No,
leaving. All
no
right.
worries. So,
Yeah. Okay.
okay, what's
So,
the correct
well, it's partner dancing because ballroom is
partner
literally only
dancing?
5 types of genres essentially, and
Wait,
then there's
waltz,
Latin.
foxtrot, quick step,
Yes. T
waltz,
A. Waltz. Viennese waltz.
Viennese waltz.
Yeah, tango, foxtrot, quick step. And so that would be like standard ballroom, but like,
Okay.
so they just kind of pigeonhole probably like 45 different styles of dance into like ballroom because it's partnered,
Because what you do, like West Coast swing, is what you're.
Well,
Um,
I do everything. So I am trained in ballroom. I'm trained in ballroom and Latin. I choreograph. I actually coach the current world ballroom and Latin champions. Like I'm their
cool.
choreographer, but I don't compete in their world.
Mm,
So yeah, so we just say partner dancing to at
we're
least kind of
dancing.
generalize into onto the different kind of rhythms and
Sure.
cultures that are kind of involved. But yeah, so there is a huge correlation, I think, with partner dancing in general, in particular ballroom dancing through
Mhm.
Utah. In Utah, like there's this. I'm not from Utah. I'm a California Mormon. Thank Buddha. And but there's a huge pressure to like pursue the arts when you're a kid.
Mm,
It's to help you kind of keep you out of trouble. It's also really good for certain scholarships, in particular in BYU. Like they really
mhm.
need better artists. And I think secretly the Mormon Church just really wants famous people that are LDS to kind of use them as poster children to the church and making it normalized. Like the
Sure.
correlation of that is essentially, I think, why it's so big. And so
Mhm.
years ago in the mid 70s, I want to say they had a higher, for decades, they had a higher amount of money going into the ballroom dance program than they did the football program. And
Wild.
yeah, like in the BYU ballroom team was like no joke for a long time. Like they competed in world like formation team championships. But like a lot of weird insidious shit has happened there. My first ballroom dance coach outside of my parents, he was a graduate from there. He was married to his dance partner. They had kids, and secretly gay. He
Mhm.
contracted actually HIV on campus because there
Oh
was like
no.
secret gay groups, and this was during the time where they were doing electric shock therapy in the early 90s, late 80s. And what's funny is like he and his wife stayed together for quite some time. She never got sick, thankfully. They even had kids after he had contracted it, and they don't know how that, like, some pretty interesting stuff. And but eventually they did get divorced. He, was happily partnered for a while, but got sick. And he got sick. He was really sick when my parents, and I'll forever be grateful for my folks, because he was super sick. Like, T cell count was very, very low. He had full blown AIDS, and he needed money. And so my dad drove to, like, I think at the time he was living in Los Angeles. My dad drove 2 hours to pick him up, drove 2 hours back for him to teach us, and he paid us to give us like our first ballroom and Latin dance lessons. And
Oh,
he told me, my mom and dad both said, when Chris comes in the room into the studio, like, you go and you give him a big hug, you shake his hand, you look at him in
wow.
the eye. It's one of those really cool, you don't think about it, but it's not a very
Yeah.
Mormon thing to do also. It's just a good thing to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I look at those times fondly, but the whole ballroom in Utah thing is just huge, and it's a huge money maker. Like, there's dance studios every 2 blocks there,
Oh, I
and
bet.
you have, ex-Mormons or people that were raised Mormon but that aren't Mormon anymore, that are very, very popular. A lot of the Dancing with the Stars folks are
Yeah.
of that ilk. I've coached a lot of them. I've worked with some of them, dated a few of them. So there's that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
a woman I danced with in college owns a studio in Las Vegas, and a huge chunk of her dancers are LDS because there's
yeah,
like a giant population there too.
yeah.
And do you have any sense of why ballroom became the thing, and any of these like partner dancing became the thing? Is it because it's a little more like quote unquote traditional of
Yeah,
like
I
a
think
man and a woman?
it's very heteronormative, but it's also very proper and technical. So there are lines that you just don't cross. And I
Mm,
think that in terms of like moral worthiness scales for Mormon people, it's a very good thing. And
sure.
essentially too, like, remember, Mormon people, at the time, they didn't have dating apps, and that wasn't a thing. And in
Mm,
order to know Mormon people, like, they would never do like, you couldn't just go on a blind date with somebody. Like, that just didn't really happen. And so the culture
mhm,
of Utah in particular was, we're going to go to a dance and meet one
mhm,
another. And how do you start dancing with somebody? So, we would teach these like dance lessons at local church get-togethers and
mhm.
socials. Like, in fact, I made money as a teenager, 13 years old, and I would travel to as many Mormon churches on a Wednesday night and teach as many dance lessons as I could to these adults, young adults that were trying to, like, get married. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, I just think it's just part of the culture. There's a lot of weddings, a lot of
Mhm.
dancing, a lot of partying in that sense, because we don't drink, so there's less distractions. And I think,
Yeah,
you got to get out your physical zoomies somehow. And with Mormonism, as repressed as we all are or were,
yeah.
I think that has something to do with it for sure.
Well, I find it really fascinating that, like, I feel like no matter what genre it is,
Mhm.
people tend to inherently sexualize dance for it's for the reasons of the costumes and the touching and the legs and all that. So it seems incongruous that like you have like the Latin dancers and like just like it feels very incongruous with what I know of like people who I've met who are Mormon who are not like that and very
Yeah.
put together and buttoned up. Is it kind of like separating your personality of like this is my chance to express this person who I want
Yeah.
to be?
Yeah,
Or
I think there's probably, I think, a good, like you said, in that, like, a pie chart of reasons maybe, and it's definitely subconscious, because there's a lot of like cognitive dissonance,
oh
in
yeah.
most hyper-religious environments, Mormonism especially included.
Mm-hmm.
And to highlight that further, I think it's a combination of what you had just said, super astute observation, but on top of it, I think it's the, this won't get us in trouble.
Mm,
There are rules, like
mm,
you see, we play a role, but it is in a controlled, contained environment, but it gets us that opportunity. Maybe,
it's
but I think more
safer.
than anything, Mormons are very competitive. Like, sports and arts are all just hyper competitive in Utah.
Mm,
And so I think a lot of that is also correlated. I think that a lot of it's just another sport to do. It's
Yeah.
just another thing to do. But I also just think it's fun. And like if everybody had the chance and the means to do it, people would
Mhm.
probably dance more often than not.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Oh,
You're
100%.
right.
I mean, every time you hear about, anybody who is a Nepo baby or is born into wealth, 9 times out of 10, they're trying to write a song. They're trying to do this. They're trying to write a
Yeah.
movie. They're like, everybody wants to be creative. That's just sort of part of what we do. And there's this weird obsession with, well, and I think there is actually, I'm going to pull this into a thing about, so I was a ballet dancer growing up, and there's
Oh, okay.
obviously competition. Yeah. There's obviously competition there.
Yeah.
But I was never good enough to like be a threat to anybody, and I just really loved it. And I always said, and the same thing, I was a horseback rider, and I always said for neither of those things, I never competed in them. And I was very much the dance thing for sure was a choice I made, that I was like, I am crazy competitive, and I just don't think I mean, I knew I wasn't good enough to ever be that good, but I just didn't have that drive to like make art into a competition. Do you
Yeah.
think does that blur the lines, do you think, of like what makes, especially when you're talking about like a reality show, right? Where you have to give some sort of criteria of how to judge it, or obviously ballroom has that too. Do you
Yeah. I
know?
think that's an interesting question. I'm gonna say no,
Mm,
uh, because specifically there's certain parameters. So if we're talking about a reality competition, it's
mm,
not art. We are learning somebody else's stuff.
mm,
So it's skill. It's a competition. It's not
I
art.
see.
It's
I see.
skill. It's craft.
Mm, mm,
It's not art. If I was doing
mm,
something and I had the ability to choose my music, choose my costuming, choose my choreography, choose whom I do it with, produce the lighting, the sound, how I project it, how I promote it, the locale, then I would consider that something more artful. But
mm,
despite it being in the creative realm and the entertainment performative realm, like to me, no, I don't think it holds the space of art at all. Um,
yeah.
it's craft to me.
Do you think do you think there were moments, or do you think it's all artifice? Like, do you think there is space in that genre for genuine art, or do you think it's always going to be hollow because it's never going to be right? It's never Mia Michaels' thing. It's Mia Michaels and the producers and the costume people,
Well,
and
Mia Michaels never choreographed a goddamn step. She's a fucking fraud and a drug addict.
what?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I obviously do not follow like the dance world.
Yeah, she treated
This is
she
not
treated me
my.
like shit, and like I don't care anymore. So
I'm sorry.
no, she was abusive to half of her assistants. She would steal from some really close friends of mine's choreography and their concepts, like her Emmy award winning stuff that she got. Like that either came from her assistants or other pieces that she copied from judging people's competitions, like in the Midwest and in San Diego. So I'm sorry, no. I heard she's changed. I heard she's turned a new leaf, and I'm really happy to hear that about any person, but
Wow.
no. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see art in that. I see skill and craft, and I don't think. And again, they're not choosing the people to dance. I don't find that to be artistic.
Huh.
I don't. It's
Yeah.
creative, but to me, creativity, artistry, and craft are three separate things. They're maybe under the
100%.
same umbrella as art, but I don't find them to be the same thing. In fact, I separate them extensively just because I also compete. Like I used to compete in routine competitions where I had every bit of control over the situation, but I
Mm,
also subsequently, in tandem with that, I do improvisational competitions where I don't choose my partner and I don't choose the music. So in
mm.
those moments, I don't find it artistic. I find it craft.
Huh.
It's creative, but you're trying to find a solution instead of creating something. And so for me, it's not art. Art is something you create with
Mm.
intention to me.
I love that, because now I'm thinking about sort of the larger like Hollywood of it all, of like movies maybe at some point were art, but at this point, with
Mhm.
exceptions, I think. Did
Yeah.
Sorry, did you see Sinners, and did you see the dance scene in Sinners?
No.
There's an the movie Sinners. I don't know if you've heard of
Mhm.
it, but
Yeah.
it's great. But there's this maybe 8 minute long like tracking shot of
Mhm.
going through the past and the future of dance in the Black
Mm.
community, and it broke me. It's
Mhm.
I think one of the most beautiful depictions of dance that I've seen in a long
Super
time.
cool. Super cool.
But so like that obviously I think is art, but like the Marvel shit, deeply not art.
Yeah, it's creative, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of skill. There's a lot
Sure.
of, brilliant minds to create something there, but I don't necessarily find that artistic. Like if your goal
Mhm.
is to Disneyfy something,
Sure.
chances are it could be very inspiring to people. That doesn't mean that I think the origin. I guess we're having like more of a philosophical debate or a philosophical thought process here, but I just don't find it to conflict at all. Like
Mm.
me competing on So You Think You Dance was a competition of performance. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't my art.
Mhm.
It just wasn't. Yeah.
Do you do you feel like when you if you're boy and I'm about to show my whole ass on how little I know about competition, but if you're choreographing for somebody and
Mhm.
you are, you've obviously picked your dancers and you have control over the music, and how much of in competition, how much freedom do you genuinely have, or do you feel like you're still like bumping up
Mm.
against the constraints of sort of, well, the judges aren't going to like this, so I need to be tread
Oh,
lightly here.
yeah, yeah, I think there's always percentages. If you're ever going up for competition, then you are victim to some subjectivity. And I think then
Mhm.
then the is it 100% art vice, is it 60% art? It kind of
Sure.
comes into play there. And there were times in my career where like I hold the world record for most world competitions, world championships won without losing. And so
Whoa.
I know, right? Blah. But no, but like so they were like, the first year that I competed as a world in my world championship, I was going
Mhm.
against like one of my idols with my dance partner Heidi, and I was only
Mhm.
17. I had a petition up because she's 2.5 years older than me. And
Okay.
so we were supposed to like kill it in the junior category, and then we found out we couldn't compete for a year. We'd been dancing at that point like for 13 years, and it just didn't feel fair. So we were able to petition up, and
You wouldn't have been able
once,
to compete because of your age difference was
yeah,
got it, I see.
yeah, just for age, restrictions and whatnot. This is before So You Think, right? I'm 17
Uh-huh.
years old.
Uh,
So I remember the world champions at the time who were like, I idolized them.
mhm.
We told them,
Mhm.
guess what? We're going to be in a competition with you guys in like 6 months. And they looked at me with like the most evil, well, I guess we're not going to be friends anymore because now we're competitors. And I went, oh, oh,
Oh
oh, oh. And
no.
something snapped. And I told Heidi that day, I said, look, I'm gonna have my braces taken off. I'm gonna get Accutane. I'm gonna gain weight. I'm gonna dye my hair. And I said, I don't care if we get fifth, but they're getting sixth. Like it was purely for competition. That first time I competed, it was to make a statement. It was to
Uh-huh.
prove a point. And then there afterwards, like the following years, it changes. Sometimes it's really heavy on the art. Sometimes it's
Mm.
about, life changes. And I went through like a big journey between 17 and 34 when I retired. And, so sometimes there were pieces that I chose. I even made some of my music. I even made, we put little secrets in our costumes or like our dance floor, like sometimes we'll do symbols on how we move the floor that if you're looking above, it would have a message. So we would have things for us that made it artistic despite it still being judgeable
Sure.
and competitive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's also, creativity really starts thriving when there's restraints placed on you, right? There's a reason that the original Star Wars were good and the new ones were garbage because the original one, he didn't have any money. And
Yeah.
truly one of the world's worst writers is our friend George Lucas. Anyway, but like yeah, I think when you take all the breaks off, sometimes you sort of lose your motivation or maybe your North Star a little bit of what can I do with this instead of like if all the world is a possibility. But
Hmm.
so what was the transition to from performing to coaching, or did you always kind of coach a little bit along the way? Is
So
that is
I've,
that
yeah, so my parents have had like a dance studio in one way, shape, or form for most of my life.
mm,
And even at times, like maybe we didn't have a studio, we were like subleasing once a week in a different city. And then my parents did like a peel and stick tile in our garage, and we did dance lessons there with like makeshift mirrors and brought the local kids in. So there was always some sort of experience of dance, and my dad in particular, but both my parents would travel around the world teaching, adjudicating, performing as I was a little kid. And so if it was like the summer or Christmas break, they would take us with them sometimes. And so we'd get a chance to perform in like places that I, would never have dreamed of being able to do at 5, at
Oh my God, I
7,
bet
at
that was
10.
darling.
Yeah, it's super cool. And then you see different cultures, and you're kind of exposed to how vast and beautiful and different this world is,
Mhm.
and as Americans, we are such a melting pot, but sometimes I think that numbs us to being pointing out the distinct differences that we all might have in varying cultures. And so that was a great experience. But as my parents, like as we had the dance studio, like I was always in some form of like performance. I did a lot of acting as a kid. I was on Full House as a kid. I did some auditions.
Fun.
I even won the starring role the Chucky movie Child's Play. Like I was
Yeah.
supposed to be him, the main character boy, but because it was rated R and the Mormon church doesn't allow us to watch rated R movies, I had to turn it down.
That's
Yeah.
an incredible story.
Yeah, yeah. So I had to do a lot of weird stuff. Like, but I was the poster child for like Flintstone vitamins when those were a thing, like on billboards as a kid. Before like adolescence just destroyed any decent looks that I might have had. Like, I was a cute kid, and I was the voice of like Littlefoot for The Land Before Time on all their radio advertisements. You remember the Pizza Hut puppets? I don't know if you remember that, but like
Yes.
I was the Land Before Time puppet boy, and I did all of their commercials, all the Pizza Hut. I was the Mamwich kid. I did some weird stuff, like Knott's Berry
Whoa.
Farm. I'm in all the Ralph's commercials. I was a little boy in the cart. I did a lot of that too. So I was performing, acting, dancing. But I was always just really like a weird, wild, creative kid. And
Sure.
I was always inventing fake rock bands. Like I built these fake chairs with like fake instruments, and I would have my own concerts by myself in my garage as a kid, and nobody was there. It was just these fake musicians that I built, and I made my band. I think we were called the Cherry Bomb Sparklers or whatever it
We
was. Oh
was
yeah.
that a consensus?
Yeah, we were about to be signed to a label, but shit happened. I think I had to go to kindergarten or something, but yeah, so I was always just doing that. I even like in adolescence when like I started picking up on the fact that I was different and in the the attraction sense, and I was going through the
Mm.
reparative therapy, I dug deeper into that. And I even started a superhero team in my neighborhood, and we all had codes, and we would break into people's houses and rearrange their furniture to make their houses look better. I had like
That's the
5
most
of us.
wholesome thing I've ever heard.
It's so it was so stupid and so random, and it's never a dull moment though. So like I'm a maniac when it comes to practicing, but
Uh,
like we're practicing 12 hours a day sometimes, bleeding through our feet, and
yeah.
but we're laughing the entire time. And I think that
Mm.
that's the process. I love the journey. I love the, like you said, the what if, the potential of creation. That doesn't actually dull me out. It actually pushes me to try and realize it a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Oh, that's so neat. So your dad was, or your parents were both professional dancers?
Yeah, my mom was a
Um,
ballerina like you, and she was also a
hey.
gymnast. So, and she was taking like a disco hustle class at at her community college that my dad was teaching. And my dad was like a swing dancer, hustle, disco. He was one of like the original locker kind of people as well. So he would, for like a living, he just went to clubs and battled people. That's what he did for like 10 years of his life.
Oh
After
my
he got
God.
back from Vietnam, he just did that and then started teaching and met my mom there, and then they had me and my sister Lacey. And yeah, so they've been dancing their whole lives. I come from like a third generation of swing dancers. My grandfather was the one of the, if not the first white swing dancers allowed in the Savoy Ballroom, where swing dancing was created in Harlem. And he was the
Wow.
driver for all the famous black performers on Broadway that were not allowed in clubs after they performed, so they started their own
Uh-huh.
club, which is where swing dancing was kind of created. So I come from like that kind of elk, and we were like Chicago people. We actually left New York. We were from the south side of Chicago, so we're a little rough
Hey.
around the
Hey.
edges. And yeah, so that's kind of where my roots lie a bit. Yeah.
That's incredible because I think the kind of beautiful thing about dance, and I'm also just a huge history nerd. I
Mhm.
love to go back through and find sort of the roots of where things came from. I took a lovely like what was it even called? It was like a sort of history of dance sort of thing
Yeah.
at Ball State University. And so
Cool.
we started with learning like very like old school, like almost minstrelly type things and working through up and seeing the evolution and where things connected and separated and what people's priorities were at the
Mhm.
time and how they dressed and how that informed how you moved it's all fascinating and
Mhm.
the same way that like NASCAR has its roots in rum runners and it
Mhm.
all kind of has a really interesting history and I don't know I'm always surprised by how popular dance shows are. Like I love dance, obviously. I'm so delighted as a ballerina, which like besides the Nutcracker, nobody's like clawing down your door to like go see a ballet show in general. Or at least my cool 13-year-old friends weren't. And so it was such a joy to kind of open up this world of dance that I really hadn't known about through. And I don't watch a ton of it for no specific reason.
Mhm.
But I feel like dance is such a real, a cool ambassador is such a cheeseball word, but like a guide into looking at how the world works and how we got to where we are. And the swing dancing feels so like first of all very like when I was growing up it was like super cool and then immediately apparently it wasn't cool anymore. I was in the
Mhm.
swing dance club at Ball State, so I was
Wow.
not very good. Um but anyway, I don't know, I'm just sort of pontificating on the fact that like kind of dance really ties us into culture and ties us into other cultures as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
And I think, with the Super Bowl performance this past weekend, talking about like Latino culture and what it means and how it's translated through dance and how offended people get from like
Mhm.
other cultural expressions of joy, which
Yeah.
I think is kind of a wild thing that we get to. I guess dance has always been part of the culture war, right? Back to
Yeah.
Elvis when they couldn't
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I love is I'm sure you know this, but like and actually I've in my little podcast that I just started, I did like a full video breakdown of the origin of swing dancing, and it actually comes from the ring shout, which was like a West African worship dance in a circle, and then the slaves themselves during like the plantation era, in
Uh,
order to like actually stay physically mobile and agile from the repetitive labor actions, they would do these dances in a circle called the ring shout. And it was like a step together side in like clockwise, counterclockwise circle. And then people would be hitting the drums and they would be hitting, 16th notes in 30 seconds and just kind of riffing and they would sing out praises and blessings to one another. They would ask for things. And then once, once the abolition era kind of like ended, they finally were able to actually open houses of worship. So that
mm,
side together side that they would do in place, which was called the jockey step. And then that jockey step, you couple that with partnering with somebody and then mix that with Charleston. And that's
mhm,
essentially how it all started. And so it's funny that through a terrible era, one of the most terrible
mhm,
eras in America's history, that the American dance was kind of birthed from that.
mhm,
And so you're right. I feel like it's always been about a culture war, and it's so funny. We a lot of people just tie in World War II and like white sailors and Popeye dancing, and there are some
mhm,
historical facts that connected that. The Sailor Shuffle is a
mhm.
line dance that started in the 1700s to keep sailors from losing their joints on the ship and
Huh.
staying warm. But then it became a tap dance step from the Irish step dancers that were playing with black music in Harlem. And then tap dancing was born. And so people originally were swing dancing with tap shoes on, like the
Mm,
original. So all that kind of like coalesces into like this beautiful historicity. And
mhm,
that's very rarely spoken about. We just tend to, kind of cartoonify a lot of the dancing. But that
mhm.
was actually what they called like the swing. And the swing, or the simple six is what it was called, was like the easy stuff for the white folk. So that stuff that you see, like the really bad versions of like the Gap commercials over time, right? Of like which is what got most people there, right? Cherry Poppin' Daddies and Brian Setzer Orchestra, like that essentially, it was never meant to be a folk dance. It was meant to be a progressive dance, which is basically essentially what I do. And so, yeah, it's just funny how that's kind of become something. And even in our community right now, like we've really forced some like progressive concepts of change. Like we don't say ladies and gentlemen, we say leaders and followers, so that it's a completely
Oh,
genderless role. My dad, for the first 2 years of my life, had me follow, which is traditionally like the female role. And he did that so that I could be the best leader and know what it felt like.
uh-huh.
Like
To
knew
react, yeah.
knew what felt good, what didn't feel good. And so to this day, like I compete in both roles. And it's not because of like a gay thing or a sexual
Sure.
preference or anything of that nature. In fact, like dancing is the opposite of like sexual for me because it's such a mastery based thing for me. I'm never gonna pick up somebody from dancing. Never. I can't imagine going to a club. Like I'm either 0 to 150, and yeah. So I don't know. I'm an oddity when it comes to like that kind of thing. I've never used it for clout. Um,
Mm. That's
I
your
always have
art.
my own personal reasons, if that makes sense. It's never been about, I don't know. That's why I like the whole TV show thing. I entered So You Think because I wanted to have an experience. I was taking a bow. I just claimed my third world title.
Mm.
Um, and I was taking a bow. We're at this like cocktail party, wasn't drinking, and a friend of mine saw me kind of melancholy, and he's like, "What's going on, Schwimmer?" And I said, it's just like, is this it? Have I capped off at 22 years old, 21 years old? Like, what else am I going to do? I know nothing but dance. And he's like, have you
Uh,
seen this video? And he showed like the first season's winner doing his final performance and then
mm.
winning. And I looked at him, I'm like, I'm going to be on that show and I'm going to win it. And I told him that I'm like, I'm going to train whatever I do. Like I sold my car and was taking classes in LA, didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it was the need to learn was the
Mm.
thing for me. And so when I had won, I never expected to actually win once I actually got on stage and saw these incredible dancers. And
Yeah.
um, I had a moment before the announcements where I felt like I had won something. But
Mhm.
when they announced the winner, I took a full year and some of that money to shadow the best different genres of dance people that I could find in the world. And I said, I will get you coffee, but I just want to shadow you. And I want to know everything that you know
Mm.
as best as I possibly can. Just keep me exposed to whatever you're doing. I don't care if you want foot rubs, but I just want to learn. And so I took that
Mhm.
year just to educate myself more about dance. So I think I became a real dancer after that TV show, which is why I kind of poo-poo it sometimes. It's,
Sure.
if anything, it was like high school. It's the
Well,
launching pad to start something, not.
what makes me think of is John Cleese from Monty Python has said like Monty
Mm,
Python was 4 years of my life. Like it was
mhm.
such a small piece of what my life is, and it's defined who I am. And like I can't imagine how difficult that is to reckon with. And yeah, man, it's wild. And it was the early days of reality. We didn't know what we were
Yeah.
doing. What a mess.
To,
What a
to be
mess. It
fair,
must have been
it was a
terrible.
mess on tour. I remember when we were on tour, I don't even think they paid me, but when we were on tour, I think I had like the fifth most popular blog on MySpace and whatever that means,
Ooh.
and I didn't know how to handle any of that stuff because I'm literally
Mm,
going through identity crisis. So like part of me is just like I either have to be a complete entertainer online or just run away from it
mhm.
or be honest or be rebellious because I can't be completely transparent of like what I'm going through as a person. And I'm not going to lie. So, what do I do? Do I just avoid it all? Do I avoid the deep questions? Do I learn how to like dance around them? No pun intended.
No pun
And
intended.
yeah, so I think I had almost this odd fugue state after that experience because people put me in this box of like, you're the guy who slides on his heels and shakes his butt. And it's just like, no, I'm not. And that's what that show provided. That's the light that they could have shined a light on me with. But so I feel like I like about face rebelled pretty quickly.
Mm,
Not within like Mormon confines, but just in like conceptions. And I decided I don't care if this loses a fan, but I'm going to have boundaries and
mhm.
I'm going to clearly state those boundaries. So if some stranger wants to run and give me a hug, I will extend my arms and say no. Like,
Hmm.
you need to introduce yourself, who you are, and then maybe we can have a conversation and maybe a handshake.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think I actually upset a lot of people. And I had a lot of weird stalker experiences. Like, there were restraining orders and people
Ugh.
that really wanted me to marry Danielle, or people that found my girlfriend. I had a very serious girlfriend at the time, and she was actually the first person that knew about me with my attractions on both sides of the spectrum. And
Mm.
she would get hate mail and like death
Honey.
threats sent from like fans of mine. So it just really, it kind of soured that experience. And I think that that's why I kind of shifted over to the competition world again, because it really helped
Mm.
me focus on like truly controlling the narrative and knowing that the grass was not necessarily green on the other side. And if I was going to do anything in that world, like, I'm not going to be subject to um choreographers or directors. Like, I'm going to choreograph it, I'm going to direct it, I'm going to produce it. Went to film school, and so I
My
direct,
husband went
produce,
to film
choreograph.
school.
Oh,
My
amazing, that's super
Yeah.
cool. Right
Oh, I
on,
love
right on.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
really
that's
cool.
that's where I live, and if I can make a living teaching, adjudicating, performing, competing, I'm grateful
Mhm.
for it. And then everything else, the creative stuff, is just a bonus right now until I get proper funding to make the film that I want to make. So I don't come from a place of privilege in that sense, but
Mhm.
yeah, I just love it. I love the grind. I love the creation. I love the possibility.
Was there ever a moment that you felt like a teenage rebellion against dance? Like, I can't imagine being raised in a house all around dance. Was there ever a moment that you're like, no, I'm going to be a skateboarder, mom?
My parents were really cool about like me being whatever I wanted to be. And
That's
so
great.
I was pre-med. I was going to become an anesthesiologist at one point. Um, yeah, but think about the
That'll
insurance. The
fund your
liability
movie.
sucks. Right, right. So, yeah. So for me, like, I graduated high school like at 14 and a half. And so like, I was a couple of years ahead, and wanted to
Mhm.
get the hell out, and I was bullied. I got in fights all the time, and I'm Irish from like the south side of Chicago. Like, I fight. So you want
Yeah.
to call me the F word or a couple bad names, like, all right, cool, we're gonna fisticuffs. I don't care if you're bigger than me. Like, I see red, like, don't
Yeah.
do that. And so yeah, I was ready to get out of that situation. And but then I started teaching at a college as a teacher, as a
Mm.
professor, while I was taking classes there. And it was the only way that I could afford it. So I did that. And yeah, that's what happened. And then I basically had to make a decision. It was like, I fasted and prayed. Am I going to do this so you think you can dance thing? Or am I going to go to med school? Because I had a full ride scholarship to like
Mm.
top med school in the world through dance, and some scores and whatever. And yeah, and so instead of learning calculus, I count to 8 for a living. And but once I made that show, I felt at the time that it was God saying, like, this is your path, it's going to be okay.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful
Mhm.
for it, for what it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so sweet. Oh my God, I just completely lost what I was about to say. But
I'm sorry,
so,
I'm
no,
sorry.
God, do not. No, that's my ADHD. That is not you. I know now. What could we talk a little bit, if you're comfortable, about sort of your parting with the Mormon religion? And
Absolutely.
was there a particular incident that set that off, or was it a long the way people, I've always known that this wasn't it, but I was lying to myself.
Yeah, so thanks for asking that, and also kind of that preface there afterwards, because I was not that person.
Mm,
I was true blue, believing, spiritual experiences,
yeah.
dreams, theoretical miracles. I I was like true blue believing. I was a scriptorian. I've read the Bible in, I think, two or three different languages a couple of times, including, and then also the Book of Mormon and all of our other
Sure.
scriptures as well in the Mormon Church. And I had an answer, I thought, like, scriptorially for everything, unless you were going like deep into the Hebrew translation. And and if not, like, you
Was,
always just say, well, I chalk it up to faith. Like,
sure.
yeah.
Was the Book of Mormon your primary source, or were you more like a New Testament gentleman?
Oh, so in the Mormon Church, we study them all. Like,
Oh,
obviously,
okay. Oh, I
we
didn't know.
kind
It's like the third one in the set.
yeah, there's actually six in total. So there's the Old Testament, New Testament, Book of Mormon, and then there's something called the Doctrine and Covenants, and then there's something called the Pearl of Great Price, which are like little
Oh,
lesser known, but they're very like deep, weird, more late Joseph Smith on like a power kick
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
scripture, or post polygamy Mormonism and like rules and bylaws for public record. And then there was like active scriptures which were like a monthly magazine that the current leaders of the Mormon church would also publish. So yeah, like we have kind of like 6 books that we were navigating the whole time. It was
Wow.
exhausting. And yeah, so to me it was all of it. Like I
Mm.
studied the New Testament almost as much as I did the Book of Mormon. I mean, Mormons kind of hang their hat on the Book of Mormon for many reasons, because it's kind of like if you believe it, it's all true. If you don't,
Sure.
we know it's bullshit, even by history's sake, you know? So it's kind of that leap of faith that I kind of lived on. But
Uh-huh.
so I was a believer, and my mission was a really great experience. It was very difficult
Mm.
with what I went through personally. I was very sick. I nearly died a couple of times. And I actually want to say that my first like crack in my worldview, and at the time I don't think I realized that it was, but it was the first time I'd ever seen, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of faking like virtue in this world. So mission presidents are like usually a older, kids are out of the house, usually married man, and he and his wife get called to serve a Mormon mission as well, but they run all the missionary companionships, right, for like 3 years. And
Mm.
those people, like there's like a probably like a 25% chance that they're going to be part of like the hierarchy globally in the Mormon church. Like those are the ones that are like, if you do that, then you're next in line to become a 70 or
Uh-huh.
a 12 apostle. Like we have 12
Oh.
apostles, right? Or the Mormon church does, right? And so my mission president, I'd gotten really sick one time, and it was one of those things where I was deathly ill. I was living in an indigenous village. I had like a steroided out cousin of a tapeworm, and it was causing like almost paralyzation from like the waist down due to like a mass that had accumulated in my intestines. And so
Jesus.
I was bleeding. My eyes were like bright yellow just from like sepsis.
Jaundice,
And
yeah.
I was in a village that was like 12 hours away from even any hospital. So I had to make a decision. Like I went to see a doctor, I took a bus, but I had to like take care of the people, and I had to baptize people, and I had to like feed these people that were sick and help them out. And so my companions are like, dude, you're dying. We got to do something, you know? And so I remember seeing a doctor, like long trip, and he's like, you've got to get surgery like today, tomorrow, but you
Uh-huh.
don't want to get it done here. The medicine's bad. You'll probably get an even worse infection. We got to get you to
Uh-huh.
like the United States or Mexico City. And I had a visa issue. So I'm in Mexico, and on a minister's visa, if you leave, you lose your visa. And so I still had like a year of my mission left, or maybe a little less than that. So I didn't want to leave. And I'm like, well, then I'll just go to Mexico City. So we're not allowed to call our parents. Like you can email them once a week, and you have 30 minutes to write an email or send a handwritten letter in the mail. And you
Why?
only can, I don't know, be focused on the work,
Control?
I guess. And also to be like not in the world, but to help it. That's
Oh,
kind of
I
the
get
thought,
it.
right? So I could only call my mom once a year for Mother's Day and talk to my family on Christmas Day by phone, and that's it. So I remember they were going to send me to Salt Lake City to get a surgery, which means I would have to
You
have
can
butthole
travel.
surgery in Salt Lake City, and then I would have to finish my Mormon mission stateside. And I was in love with these people. Like I knew I was meant to be there at the time. I was very convinced. And these people are the most fantastic. Like, well, Hawkins are the most incredible people on planet fucking Earth. And so to this day, I talk to all of them. I visit all the time. I'm still
Oh.
welcomed in their churches. And there's actually a story about that that might be nice to talk about for this podcast in particular. But I ended up having I had to call my parents, and which is a rule that you break. And my mission president, I asked him, I said, please call my parents, tell them to sign a waiver and have them operate on me in Mexico City so that I can finish here. Like I'm
Mm.
meant to be here. And he's like, you will not go against whatever the offices of the Mormon hierarchy said. It's going to make me look bad. And
Sure.
I plan on serving in this church in higher rankings for the rest of my life, which is what he said. And I'm like, you're a fraud. I went to a payphone. I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, call Salt Lake City, tell them to book the fucking surgery in Mexico. I'm
Oh my
staying here
God.
or I'm dying here. It's your choice. It's their choice. So I was that freaking determined. And so Salt Lake City was like, yeah, you could have just asked for a surgery in Mexico City. It was my mission president that didn't want it. He was super racist, hated the white missionaries, like total asshole, right?
Oh my God.
So I get my butthole surgery in Mexico City. A couple months later, I had a major accident there where like I cracked half my face open.
I'm
Uh
sorry. And this is what you said was the best time of your life because so far you've died like 3 times
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
gotten screwed over by your boss. So like,
Yeah, I got attacked by a gang with like a giant beer bottle over my, it was great. So sick.
best days of
Stomach,
our
I
lives.
Yeah, no, really, it was just to serve these people and to kind of forget my. I think at the end of the day, it's like I was going through such an inner turmoil, right? And I couldn't control that. But
Mm.
being like consistently all day, 24/7, thinking about helping others was like a really great, peaceful thing for me. It
Mhm.
didn't feel bad. I felt like I was trying to like I was scoring points and I was having the best time of my life doing it. To be frank, and it is what it is, and it was a
And
great
it seems
experience
like you're a
nonetheless.
guy who your brain is always going a million miles an hour. So when you have a chance to really focus that energy on
Yeah.
something, it's really therapeutic in a lot of ways. I actually I have ADHD, as I said, and I did ballet and horseback riding growing up. And I was talking to somebody about like ballet does not feel like the correct sport for like somebody who cannot sit still for more than a second. And a friend of mine who's a physical therapist was talking about how like when you're engaged with dance or when you're engaged with horseback riding, which is all of that plus you're responding to another animal, your brain just doesn't have anything else to do. Like you, if you are thinking about where your shoulders are and your hips and your feet and your extension and is this and is that and what's the next step and like where's my center, you don't have time to like be replaying a speech in your head of like something somebody said to you 25 years ago. You have to do this thing now. And I really think that there is such a there's a space, I think, a magic with something that is so active and so full body encompassing that you don't have an excuse. There's nothing you can do besides give it your 100%. And like,
Absolutely. That's beautifully put.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you aren't focusing right, you fall, you break your ankle, you drop your partner. Like
Hmm.
things are at stake. The stakes are real. It's not this imagined conflict that I'm having in my head. And I think I hope, I just think there is a space for young people to get involved in sports like this.
Hmm.
And it just isn't available to people. And obviously there's financial things with everything, but
Yeah.
I really think that giving a kid, especially with like teenagers, and I think there's such a huge problem with our culture just hates teenagers. Like as soon like from 13 to like 22, anywhere you are, you're unwelcome, you're causing a scene, you're causing a ruckus. And now kids don't have that third space that they go to, which I assume for you was your dance studio, for me was the barn, my studio,
Hmm.
now is like where I do volunteer work. And if kids are either at school or at home, like what are they supposed to do with the rest of their time? They can't be anywhere without paying. Like where can you go to just hang out without paying anybody?
Hmm.
And they're anyway, my point is like, my husband grew up as like a little skateboard nerd, and after junior high and high school he would go to his little skate shop and talk about skateboarding with his boys and drink Jones soda, and like that was something that was important to me, and there's so few of those spaces left.
Yeah.
But I don't know where I was going with that. I just really got on a tear.
I love it. No, no, no. I think I remembered. Thankfully, I'm medicated for my ADHD, so I remember now.
Saying,
Yeah.
this is what a medicated girl looks like. You should have
All
seen me 2 years
right.
ago.
Yeah, no joke. I feel that. I feel that. I very much feel that. My parents used to call me Ritalin boy as a kid. And there would be times where I was so hyper. I used to go to thrift stores a lot because I was so poor and I didn't have any money. And any money that I had, I put it into like a dance costume. So I would go to thrift stores and I found this luge, like a street luge costume. And I wore this like blonde spiked wig and I would wear this weird discolored mask and I would just like wreak havoc on my street. I would tape like palm tree branches to my arms and chase cars and So
Oh my
I was extremely
God.
hyperactive as a kid. And you're right. It fires those neurons, whatever
Hmm.
is not firing off that stimuli. And I really do
Hmm.
feel like I was a good missionary in that sense, the way that I'm a good dancer. Like there was so many
Mm.
things to kind of navigate. And it was a single focus, but there was so many things that you had to navigate within that soup. And I agree. It's a lot like self mastery in ballet.
Hmm.
It's rhythm, it's body positioning, it's port de bras, it's feet.
Hmm.
It's patience. It's training, it's range of motion. It's
And
which
are your
style are you
hands
doing?
soft? Are your
Yeah,
hands
are you doing
soft?
a
Are you doing
chiquetti?
all
Are
of
you
this?
doing a yeah? Oh, I
A
hate the
little,
chiquetti hands. They're so gross.
okay.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I think so I made that phone call and I
Oh
got the
yeah, I'm so
surgery a
sorry.
Mexico. I came back and I remember like you have to report at the mission president's house. And this is the day
Hmm.
that my feeling of like something might be broken. I'm sitting there and I looked up to this man because my dad wasn't like very Mormon-y, so I didn't have like
Hmm.
we would call like a high priest in the house. And so I always looked after like examples of that, and I thought this guy was the cat's meow. And he sits there and he's eating a steak. And I sit down at the dinner. I haven't eaten all day. I'm traveling. We don't have money as missionaries. So like flew 11 hours and bus drives and didn't get a chance to eat anything. And
Hmm.
I'm sitting there and I have this giant red eye from this accident. My mouth is all cut open still and
I
I'm
forgot about
swollen. And,
that.
and I'm sitting on a donut and with my little name tag and tie. And he's cutting this delicious steak and he's eating it slowly. And he's like, "Are you hungry?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm really starving, Presidente." And he said, and he calls his wife and she gives me a hard-boiled egg and puts it on a plate. And it was in that moment that I realized, like, oh, these spiritual giants can be fucking ass hats. Like, okay. So yeah, that kind of was like I think the first thing,
Wow.
but I didn't think about it very. I just thought he's a bad guy. But Mormonism's great. The people are imperfect,
The one
but the
bad apple.
the religion's perfect, right? Yeah, yeah. And then, after the repaired to therapy for a long time, I went through so many different incarnations of it. It just never worked really. And then the big thing that broke me in terms of like I started to date guys, but abstinent Mormon guys.
What counts as abstinence? Is it like
Meaning,
no touching or just no like smooching?
so Mormon rules, there's like a handbook for Mormons, right?
Of
And there's
course.
something called the law of chastity. So
Great.
basically like no heavy petting, you can kiss, but it's got to be a closed mouth kiss. Obviously you can't float, you can't have sex, no masturbation, no being alone,
Wait,
certain
it's
late hours.
floating real.
Oh, it's real. It's real. Yeah, it's very real. It's very real. It's so real. It's so real.
Would you like to explain to my listeners what that is?
So in Mormonism, there's something called floating where it's kind of like a dance around the words because it says that you can't have like penetrative intercourse, okay? You can't finish, okay? Uh, but if I just stick it in and we don't do nothing, we just let it float there, or some people call it soaking,
I've
right?
heard soaking.
Yeah, if you let it soak, you just stay there and then you pull it out. And so that's not masturbation, it's not active sex, it's not oral, it's not a hand job, it's
It's
soaking.
not on the list. So
It's
technically,
not on the
so
list.
when I
Yeah.
was growing up, the rumor was that all the Catholic kids had anal sex as a way to get around the Catholicism rule. Did you guys get in that
God, I
nonsense?
wish I was Catholic growing up. No, yeah, so no, no. But
Interesting.
we soaked anally too. So I know a lot of like gay Mormon missionaries that soaked each other rectally. So that was a
And
thing.
did they do it as a like this isn't gay, this is just we both need release, or were they knew? Like obviously they
I, you know,
knew, but like
yeah, from like one of my ex-boyfriends, he was a missionary and he actually got sent home for having like full-blown sex with his companion, which is like a big thing. Like it's a
sure.
big shameful thing, right? And he told me at first they would be like, "Oh yeah, got morning wood, blah 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 blah. Yeah, just want to put it somewhere. Oh yeah." And so you're almost playing this game of like, "Yeah, we're straight. We're just two men living together and we're horny and
Oh
what does it
my
feel
god.
like? I wonder what it feels like. Oh my God, let me see yours." I'm sure
Oh
it was just kind of one of
wow.
those things. And then it became something else very quickly, I'm sure, as 20-year-olds
Of
who
course.
can't masturbate would. And so yeah, for me though, that really wasn't my case. I had a gay companion. I've actually had, now in hindsight, I found out I've had like three, but I had a gay companion that did come on to me when I was asleep one time, and that was hard to navigate, because like my brain wasn't there. Like I think that's the hard part, is it wasn't like I didn't find myself, I didn't identify as like secretly gay.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was tempted with something, but like it was shut off when I was on my mission. Like I was just there to do what I was there to do.
Well, I
And
wonder, is
yeah.
there also, sorry to interrupt, but is there also a sense of like, well, everybody's kind of attracted to men. Everybody's kind of attracted to women. Like, of course, I notice somebody's good looking. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything about me. It's, boy, the mental backflips, that must have been exhausting.
Well, but that was actually part of some of our conditioning. So some of the like the support groups that I was a part of over the years, some of the reparative therapy groups that we had, that was something that we talked about. And
Mm.
there was this one, it was, I mean, the worst, it sounds like a gay porn. It's called Journey into Manhood. And I
Stop
was
it.
part of that for a minute. And what's funny is it's like they would have like group hug sessions, and it was the freakiest thing. Sometimes nude hug sessions. There was a lot of weird stuff. And then like the secret group of them, they would call it canteen filling, where they would meet, and they called it like their book club, and they would go to like a sauna and just watch naked men, and then they would go have sex with their wives afterwards. It was like their ammo to have sex with their wives. Some of them were on a TLC TV show that shall be unnamed. So that whole group is like underground, like really insidious. They pulled some
Mm.
really nasty stuff with me personally. And
Mm.
yeah. So but that didn't really break me. The thing that really hurt though in that moment is I thought like that struggling gay reparative therapy groups in Mormonism, like the ones that were older that were married, I thought that they had all the answers. So I looked up to them, and then they disappointed me. And I kept getting that sense of disappointment. I did have a boyfriend who was a Mormon missionary. We were together after that, obviously, but I was engaged, not engaged, but seriously with somebody with
Mm.
like a date to be married. And unfortunately, she had a baby from a previous marriage, and we loved each other very much, like really, really strongly. I adored this person, and then she we lost her child, unfortunately, to cancer, to a brainstem tumor. And we knew that, like we met through like a charity that I'd started to help kids, and so we knew that that was like the writing was on the wall. But like her daughter lasted longer, much longer than we ever expected. So like I felt almost a parental role in
Sure.
her life, and the father wasn't in the picture. So it became something deeper than probably what it should have been. But yeah, when she passed away, I remember like I was with my girlfriend and just trying to get her out of the house. We went to go see a
Mm.
movie or something. And as we're leaving the movie, holding hands and, sad and reeling from the whole experience still. And this really good looking couple, like it looked like an Abercrombie couple, just walks right by us. And she stops me in the middle of, mind you, she knew all these things, went to therapy
Mm.
about it and everything. She stops me and she looks at me. She's like, "Which one did you look at?" In like a panic. And I can only like empathize now and realize she was probably thinking, wow, this person, despite his trials and tribulations, is with me right now in my
Mm.
worst time of need. Like
Mm.
she was probably feeling like we need to be together forever. And then
Mm.
that happened, but it's like, are you going to disappoint me? Are you going to leave me? And I traveled so much for work, and I'm in the dance world of all places. So I'm assuming that she probably thought that, like, would I cheat on her, or would I find something that I was attracted to more than her? And
Sure.
all intents and purposes, like, she knows for very old damn sure that I was very attracted to her through our
Mm.
physical encounters and experiences, despite not breaking any rules. And
Mm.
she but I remember her sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't want to put someone through that what if. Like if my dedication to you now and me going to therapy all the time is not enough for you, then what is? And I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
if you could be with somebody, and I even felt a sense of unworthiness, like, maybe there's a completely heteronormative guy that would just be much better for you in that
Sure.
sense, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so I felt like that was just not an avenue that I was going to go down. And
Mm.
so after we had split up, like I met a guy. It felt very divinely put, and we dated for a very long time, non-sexual at all. We told
Mm.
all of our church leaders about it. And I had a really kick-ass leader at the time. He's like, Benji, he's like, are you breaking anything in the rule that would be like, if you're dating a girl, would your behavior be worthy of punishment? I said, no. He's like, then I can't say anything. And if the love is pure, who am I to judge? That was my Mormon bishop.
Wow.
A badass, a badass. And the only reason why he and I broke up, like he was like the first love of my life, really. And when we broke up, it's because he ended up wanting more. He's like, I don't know about
Mm.
this Mormonism thing. And I thought he was like a true blue believer like me. So he was the one, like that actually had kind of the, maybe this is all bullshit. And like, we're all like sacks of blood and plasma and cosmic
Yeah.
stardust. And we should just love one another and enjoy life. And he kind of gave me
Uh-huh.
this out. And I couldn't be the one to be the gateway that I felt like I would have been doomed and I would have doomed him because I loved him so
Oh.
much. How warped is that, right? Talk about mental gymnastics.
I
So,
ju- uh,
yeah.
ugh.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's the thought crime of it all is really what breaks my heart, is the thought crime. The like, oh, I had this thought, or like you putting like literally the soul of the man you love onto your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a deeply unhealthy thing for a person to have to try to take on.
Yeah.
Like, like the desperate, I can't. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
It sucks. Well, I mean, and I think that was like, so the dating women thing, it broke me when my girlfriend was just like, we can't do this, and then the next love of my life, this my boyfriend, he's like, I want more, I can't do this. So, and then it just became, that really broke me emotionally a lot. Like the reparative therapy just wasn't working and I was kind of spiraling. I was like falling asleep on my knees. I was having dreams where I would like stab myself with scissors and like kill myself, but it was
Oh.
like the most peaceful dream. Like I wanted to end it all. Like there was like thoughts of like suicidal ideation and
And how
just
old were you
the
at this time?
25, 26, 26
Okay.
probably,
Mm.
and then on top of that, I'm now like, God, like all of my friends are married, and
Yeah.
they have kids, and I don't even have the same like homies to hang with, and I told my two best friends that like I was struggling. I ended up coming out to
Mm.
my family that I was not gay, but I was same sex attracted, and that I was fighting it, and I was going to therapy, and it was a very easy way to come out in Mormon culture. It's like, oh, I'm
Mm.
doing a good thing. I
Yeah.
chose this in the premortal earthly existence,
You were being
and
very brave.
wah wah. If
Yeah.
anything too, it's probably like a pride filler too. Like I'm not without realizing that there could be even like little micro narcissistic things that connect with that. Like I'm gonna have so much mastery over this, and I'm gonna be so virtue signaled, and I'm gonna be this and that and the other, that like, yeah, like I'm doing it, you can do too. But I will
Well, if you're
say,
like
mhm.
the world champion of something, you're like, I have it inside of me to be the best at shit. So why don't I be the best at this?
I've never looked at it that way, but yeah, yeah. Because like I'm a total sociopath when it comes to like my training regimen, so like that totally tracks. But I think the thing that was really hard for me and what caused me to leave was actually just like I was having a full blown breakdown, and I it's either like, what do I do? And then I started having more and more doubts, and then the Mormon Church called me into a meeting. Uh-huh. And kind of a regional representative brings me into his office. I know him. He's actually he's like a psychotherapist. Like he's a very smart man. And he comes in and he sits there and he's very nice. He knew of my struggles already because of like me being in the conversion therapy world. And they would check on me, by the way, like Gestapo level bullshit. Like, are
No.
you reading? Are you doing this? Like, we noticed that you dyed your hair. Is that for a project? If not, are you rebelling? What's going, like, I would get it all the time. All the time. Text messages, Facebook
Were you
messages.
considered a high profile case, as it were,
Yes.
or was this how they did everybody?
So no. The church HR actually had a plan to do like a book for me, a documentary. Oh no, I was like set to be the poster child for the Mormon church, as like, I can do it,
Wow.
so can you. Oh no, there were like mass plans for it. I didn't want it. I turned it down several times, but I'm like, I'm still going to work and serve in the church and do all these things. But this is the thing that really fucking broke me. And then I realized maybe the Mormon, and at the time I still had a belief in like God and
Sure.
Jesus. And I actually believe that Mormonism at its core was true at the time, which has changed,
Did
obviously. But
you?
oh yeah. And so I'm sitting there and I get into the room and he's like, Benji, I have to let you know something. So every time you move into like a different area, if you're in a different church building, you have to have your records transferred. It's like a global thing, right? And so when you do that, it talks about every detail about you so that the leaders know exactly who you are, if you've had any problems in the past, if you've had any sins in the past, even if you've
These
been
gossipy
forgiven of them.
bitches.
I know, right? Bullshit, right? So he's like, Benji, I have to let you know by law. And I'm like, oh, law, not by like spiritual guidance or divine power. He says, by law, I have to let you know that your records now have to have a asterisk permanently on them. And I'm like, well, what is that supposed to mean? And he's like, that means that you will never be able to serve at capacities where there are youth under the age of 18. Hear me out really fast because it's disgusting. They say, and I'm like, excuse me. And at this time, I had given up on the fact I was going to date men or women. Like I decided just to live a celibate life. And that's why I was like so depressed because it's like it can't work with men, it can't work with women. I'm just going to live a
Ugh.
celibate life, and this is my journey. And come what may, like this is what it's going to be. And so one of the things that I loved the most was being able to help like serve the youth. Like if I'm not gonna have kids of my own, to be like an
Mm.
uncle to, to like if I'm gonna serve in like in a community, like at least I can be around kids.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, are you insinuating because I'm somewhat attracted to men that I have pedophilia? I don't know if you can say it on your site. If I have PA thoughts, if I have
Yeah.
like pedo like tendencies, which I don't, and I've never had a conversation about it, never nothing. Like, oh my gosh, no, right?
Where's
And
this coming
so I'm
from?
sitting there and I could see it on his face, like this man who's supposed to be like a high pillar in the Mormon church, he knew it was bullshit. He knew it was bureaucratic.
Oh.
He knew it was wrong. And I said, and I've never in like a private meeting with like a church leader say anything. I've never spoken against them. And I literally said, this is not of God. This is not of God. This is wrong. And if you're promoting this, you know it's wrong. And I said, in your heart of hearts, you know that this is not of God. And then he tried to say, he's like, well, sometimes God puts things in front of us that aren't good and aren't virtuous just to test our loyalty and our faith to it. And I said, now, and then he flipped and he's like, but as a therapist, I agree with you. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck do I do with this information? Like what?
So
And
you're
so,
saying you, the guy in charge, are saying that you also think that this is bullshit, and yet here we are, like,
yeah, sister. Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God. So I decided to fast for 3 days.
no.
Because Mormons, we
Why do you
fast and we pray.
keep fasting?
Because that's
Oh
that's us. That's
no.
Mormons, right? And so I'm like, because now I
Oh.
had like big decisions to make. Because I have all these people that I helped convert in Oaxaca, in
Mm,
Mexico. I had all these people that watched me online that knew that I was a Mormon, that were inspired by my Mormon story.
mm.
And I'm having to face this nightmare, even being in the dance community, in the swing dance community, where it's like very man woman. Like I was the leading dude. I was a fucking alpha. So
Mm.
if I come out as gay, or if I leave Mormonism, are people going to think I'm a fraud? Are they going to
What?
are they going to think I'm a liar, that I've lied to them this whole time? I have nothing. If I decide to come out, or leave Mormonism,
Mm.
I don't think I'll have anybody in my corner. I'll have no family. I'll have no friends. I'll have no missionary companions and memories to share. I don't have anything.
Mm.
I had no faith in the gay like lifestyle because of what I was preached on from like the church.
Sure.
And so I really felt like I was shit out of luck. Like, what the fuck do I do? And every
You
time I
thought
would
you'd
go on a
lose
plane,
dance too?
I felt like I would lose my credibility in the dance world. Oh, he's only
Oh,
talented now. Like as a swing dancer, he only moves that extra. He's extra flexible because he's a homo.
is that
No,
like
because that's shit that you would hear at that time. Yeah, it was very chauvinistic at the time. We've changed some shit. Like the modern swing world is fucking great, but we had to like boot out a lot of nasty, closed-minded pieces of shit. Considering swing dancing was always about being progressive, men danced with men, and it wasn't ever a thing in the
That-
origins of swing. But
Just like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I love dance. I love it, but like, maybe let's not take this so fucking seriously because at the end of the day, we are dancing. Like,
yeah,
maybe we don't need to ruin people's entire reputations for like how high he can kick. Like, what are we
yeah.
doing? Like, to what end? Where are we getting at?
Also, like, does it even matter? Because if you see me on the dance floor, if you believe that I'm in love with that person or not, like,
Mhm.
not all of our routines are about that. But if it's an artistic piece, who the fuck cares? It's a role, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I danced with a married woman for 2 years, my dance partner, and people were like, "God, your chemistry's so great," but we know that she's married to somebody else. Like, is something going on between the two? It's like you're believing a 3-minute piece on the dance floor over like fact, over reality, you know. But to kind of cap that all off, I decided to fast for 3 days, and I was literally asking the question, do I leave Mormonism and try the whole like dating men without rules kind of thing, and risk damnation, risk hating myself? Do I, maybe even part of my career, do I stay here and just deflate, you know, and
Yeah.
probably end up killing myself? And would that be better, in God's eyes? Would that be better, and then or give me another answer, heal me, cure me,
Yeah.
right? And so I decided to fast as long as I could, and I go to like a Mormon fasting meeting. We have these like once a month, we have a fast and testimony meeting where we all come fasting for like forgiveness of our sins, and we take the sacrament. It's like the wafers for Catholicism. It's similar, right? We do like water and bread. And
Mhm.
and I remember sitting in the very back of the Mormon church in like this overflow section because there's too many people there. So I'm sitting in this fold out chair by myself, praying for an answer. Like, please help me. Like, what the fuck do I do? I don't know what to do. And this is the weirdest thing. Out of nowhere, I'm like sobbing because I have this feeling. I guess a song comes on, a Mormon song, and it talks about like the prodigal journey is a beautiful journey. And so, like, for those atheists that were like purebred atheists or platinum atheists, prodigal journey, like a prodigious journey, like leaving the fold and maybe coming
Mhm.
back or coming back different. And
Mhm.
so it just hit me really hard. And maybe it was confirmation bias. I'm sure it was. I'm sure my
Sure, but
subconscious was just like, get the fuck out of here, Schwimmer. And so I asked,
you're
I'm like,
searching
okay,
for
this
a
is what I
toehold. You were finding anything you could like grab your little nails onto.
Yeah. And so I did. And I asked God in that moment, I'm like, I need a sign because this is
Mm.
like heavy shit. And out of nowhere, I get this hug from an old woman. My eyes are closed and I'm praying, by the way.
Was
And this
she an
old woman
angel?
immediately starts praying me. And I'm like, who is this? And like, you don't do that in Mormon churches. And it turns out it was my ex-boyfriend, the one that I broke up. It was his grandmother who lives in Utah. I'm in California, and she was going to visit a friend who was sick. She got lost and saw me through the window, saw the Mormon church, and decided to ask for directions. And she saw me crying. She remembered who I was. And she's like, Benji, you looked so upset. I wanted to give you a hug. And then I'm like, okay, I guess God is real. And,
Yeah, what
what
are
does
you
that
supposed to do
mean?
with
And
that now?
yeah. And so when I got that sign, like someone gave me a hug and said it was okay, I left Mormonism, and I made a documentary, an interview about it. It was like 6 hours long. And the Mormon church had since made like multiple attempts to bring me back in and to like force a rebaptism because of PR. And that just made
What
me even
does
realize like,
that
oh,
look
this is
like?
not true at all. Yeah.
What? How do you force a baptism? Do they kidnap you and like dunk you?
Yeah, kind of. So when you leave the Mormon church, like you have to have your records removed and you have to like
Mhm.
sign this big thing, and it's like a big they refuse to remove my records to the point that I'm like, I'm gonna get a lawyer now because I don't. So before, like, unless my records are removed, I'm not gonna break the rules. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I've
of course.
chosen this, so please rip them up so that I can get my dick wet. And so please, please God, please.
The
And
soaking wasn't enough.
yeah, right. I can't be soaking no more. And yeah, so at the end of this whole long-winded story, they records were removed, but then I got a call immediately and someone had heard that I had filmed a documentary about coming out. I was going to do a full public thing, and here it is. And one of the 12 apostles of the Mormon Church had a private meeting with me in his box seat at a Utah Jazz game.
Yes. I
So
love
gross.
the super villainy of it all.
So Dr. Evil, right?
Oh my
To be
God.
frank, he was one of my favorite ones because he was always very nice. But he walks in, and he's like, Benjamin, I know what you're
Benjamin,
going through. I know what you represent. He's like, I'm going to give you a chance right now to be rebaptized in the Mormon Church. Now, when you have your records removed, you need to wait at least a year to be rebaptized into Mormonism.
Oh, but they're
Like, that's a
gagging for you to
policy.
come back.
Yeah. So it's like, and in my mind, I'm like, well, no, I'm not. And why, why am I an exception when somebody else who might want this, and instead of suffering for a year without having the community at full, why would you put those people through it? I'm like, that's not of God. And then I'm seeing, like, if this is like what all of my belief system was in that moment, it felt like I had I use this as an analogy. I had a glass sculpture, a transparent glass sculpture of the entire world. I could see the continents, the texture of it all. I could see right through it, And in that moment, it was as if there was chinks from these little moments of my mission president being a dick, and my girlfriend breaking up, and my boyfriend, I'm having to break up with him. And then that asterisk, and then seeing like the highest of high, being behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz level shit, right? And it just dropped. And then I went through this journey of like picking up these pieces one by one and asking myself, is this real? Do I believe it? Is there fact? And then I started to develop actually like a mind that was science driven, that was logic driven, that was not pride enough to give myself a label at first, at least, and realizing that I just don't know everything. And I can't see a Higgs boson particle, so who the fuck do I, you know what I mean? Like, is there a big bang and a big swell? Like, I don't know, right? I don't know about string theory enough to know, and I don't think anybody does, but yeah. So my atheistic journey kind of developed in that way. And then I dated an atheist for like 6.5 years, and we watched like great videos about astrophysics and science and theory, and it just made me realize, like, I would rather just like appreciate what we have right now.
Wow.
And
So
why
do you
juggle the
use the word
rest?
atheist? Do you label
I
yourself
don't
as
like
atheist?
I don't like the name atheist in terms of a
Nobody
title.
does.
I know, right? But I would consider myself part of like the scientific atheist leaning communities. I don't like saying agnostic because I think it leaves too much room for like mythicism, and so for me, yeah, like if I had to give myself a label, yeah, I would probably say I'm an atheist. However, like I who knows what intelligence is and what matter is exactly, and if there's some sort of design there, but I don't pretend to know, and I don't pretend to have the capacity to understand, but I don't give a flying fuck about any organized religious experience to validate, to add value, or to take away value from my life choices. And I've realized, like, I'm a much happier person. And ironically, I feel like I'm living like more of a truth. Even like I've just visited Oaxaca, and I visit the people there, and I visit there still, and I get to love them without pretense and without judgment, and they love me that way, which is pretty fucking cool, So yeah.
Do you think there was any, like, if, looking back at kind of your deconversion, do you think there was a moment where you might have ended up like in a different Christian religion, or kind of going down like the woo-woo path of like, oh, energy is everything, and so because we don't often see the direct line from like religious to atheist. Usually there's some like stops along the way. Was that true? Was there a part of you that was like, well, maybe there's still God, even if it's not this shape?
Yeah. In fact, when I first left Mormonism, I'm like, I still believe, all of it. I believe that the current organization is corrupt.
Sure.
So I'm going to wait. I even still saved my tithing money in a private account for like 11, 12 years.
What did you do with it?
I bought a car. I bought a Porsche.
Yes.
Yeah, I had my first quarter life crisis. It was incredible. And, I'm like, I'm going to use this money, and instead of like being religious and giving it to charity, no, I've given probably
I'm
I've
gonna
given
get
10% of
mine.
everything I made. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to buy a fucking selfish present to myself. So I did.
Absolutely incredible. Oh my. So for 12 years, this is 12 years after you left the church?
Uh, no. So,
So did something
mm,
happen that like, okay, I'm done. I'm closing this account, buying the car.
yeah, it was one of the new stances that Mormonism had on like your child can't even be baptized if you're a
If your parents are
same-sex
gay?
parent. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it was in that like we all protested. We organized like a
Mm-hmm.
march right there in like downtown Salt Lake. And we had like we organized like a rally to get mass exoduses of like records being removed for people where they were hiding it. We even had like somebody on the inn that kind of helped us, which was pretty cool. And yeah, so it was probably around that time that something happened where I'm like, I'm just done with this stuff. Because, at first I believed everything still. And then little by
Mm.
little experiencing life, like you can call that, like a Mormon would probably call that being influenced by the world, but I would call it um, experiencing the world and
Yeah.
and feeling the world not through a lens but through like presence there. And I don't think I've ever felt being present in my life. And the being in Oaxaca visiting after I left Mormonism was like the scariest probably moment of my life, because I wasn't sure if they were going to chase me out with machetes. I had tattoos at that point, and so I drank coffee, like I did everything that Mormons can't do, let alone I'm a sodomizer, so you add
Yeah.
all those things together and you don't know. But the funny thing was is the same spiritual like love, and we call it the 8 ball feeling of emotion, of all the good feelings that feel bigger than all of us. I felt those and probably even more. So that's when I realized it's like, oh, this wasn't God confirming something. And if it is, he ain't in Mormonism. He's just here, or she's just here. I don't
Yeah.
fucking care. So could I go to like that space, or would I have been in like a voodoo lulu chakra
Yeah.
Chakra. I don't think so, just because like outside of Mormonism, I'm very science-based. Like I
Mm.
don't like passive modalities in physical therapy. I don't like if it's not science driven, if it doesn't actually get me to like the promised land, I just don't want to waste my time doing it.
Wow.
So that's why I would have been in the medical field, but like I still had that weird religious bubble of cognitive dissonance and
Mm.
mental gymnastics. But I don't think so. Although I dated one of my girlfriends, Catherine, she was a born again Christian.
Mm.
And so I went to church with her. She went to church with me, like an exchange kind of thing. And I loved her so much. Like that was always kind of tempting. Like maybe I'll just go to
Mm.
like a generic Christian church. And I still love a lot of like really nice Christian music. My favorite singer in the world is Phil Wickham. He's a Christian singer. He's a total right-wing piece of shit, but his voice is goddamn divine. And so, it's just one of
Yeah.
those things where I just accept it all as part of like the worldly experience. If people are
Mm.
religious, I wish them well, and I want to provide at least a safe enough space for them that when they leave, they don't feel left out the way that I was fearful of being left out. And yeah, that's where I land. Hence, friendly atheist, right?
Do you hold on to anything from being Mormon, do you think?
Very
Like,
much so.
obviously, just your core of who you are was raised this way, but like, are
Mhm.
there things that you carry with you all the time?
Yeah,
Not
I
physically.
definitely do.
Yeah.
And I say like good and bad. I think
Yeah.
I carry a lot of stunted growth emotionally, things that I should have experienced at 15 years old that I didn't experience till I was 28.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like being
yeah.
having a terrible relationship after having sex with somebody, being intimate with them, and being cheated on. Like those are things that you really don't experience like in the Mormon space. And
Sure.
having your heart really broken in ways that it's like, if I don't have you now, maybe in heaven we'll have you. We always had that weird thought process, but like this is now.
The
And
finality
feeling
of it.
the finality of it all was something. So
Oh.
that was really hard for me. But I think I still carry a lot of like service oriented perspectives, thinking about the unsung heroes, thinking about that. That is something, and I didn't realize at the time, but I was conditioned to find that in order to convert people, not not for good reasons, really. But I feel like the the purest essence of that drive is still around.
Yeah.
And so I've decided to kind of give up on most people, but I do a lot of like pit bull and like red listed large dog, aggressive, titled aggressive dog, like volunteer work.
Mm.
And we try and get like, we have probably about 300 dogs adopted through the network that we've helped create. So I do that on the side. But I don't claim to be any like great person, and I don't really fucking care.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of that, and I think I also still like look at the world. I look at the sky. I look at the wind. I live in the middle of like nowhere in the desert, and so when I go for a hike, I see the sky, and it reminds me of the time when I was in Mexico walking the streets, and I still marvel at the beauty of this world. And I
Mm,
still feel like that was something that we were always taught to like consider the lilies. It's like a phrase in Christianity.
mhm.
And I still do that. But like I also think whiskey tasted great. And I think coffee is the greatest gift to mankind. And so I yeah, I look at it all. And the only thing that ever kind of caused me like that something else might be there is trying mushrooms. Like
Really?
feeling connected to nature and how powerful that is. And like the
Mm.
fungus among us is a real thing. And so, that actually kind of broke the title atheist for me, because it's like whatever this is, even if it's not like a higher power, but it's just here with us or we're part of it, I just want to be aware of it and acknowledge that maybe we're in it. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah, I think there's a way to truly view the world for how magical and strange and inexplicable it is without
Yeah.
having to like default to, well, it's somebody who does it. Like I said, I work with horses, and I do volunteer work with kids with special needs.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we do they get horseback riding lessons and physical and occupational therapy. And like horses aren't the smartest. They're about as smart as like a 2.5, 3-year-old, but they have such incredible intuition because they lived in groups. And so there are certain horses who have a very, very strong sense of I guess intuition is the best way I can put it, of
Hmm.
they understand that this is a vulnerable person that needs to be taken care of. We have a
Hmm.
horse who he can feel a seizure coming. Like if his
Oh, wow.
rider is about to have a seizure, he'll just stop, and we're all like, yeah. And I feel like people look at things like that, and to them that is what God is. But to me, that's just
Mhm.
like what humanity, what the world
It's
is.
life. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
living. It's this
And
world.
and just like take it for what it is. Don't try to
Hmm.
like and also I think there's a little thing about, ooh, this is a new thought I'm having about like pattern recognition in religion,
Hmm.
of like, oh,
Hmm.
if this, then that, and then this. But like
It's
the world's
conditioning.
random. Yeah, it
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that before, of like everything has a cause and effect.
I mean, I went to therapy. I've been in and out of therapy to like deprogram my programming and my Mormon therapy, right?
I cannot
And
believe how long you did that.
oh yeah,
The
bless my therapist. Now they're like, holy shit. Not only that, but like your whole like experience being on like the TV stuff and like your
Yeah.
crazy career uh and then this too. Like what, so I actually have two therapists now. And it's true actually, and I love it. It's great. But I was gonna say what I've learned from like deprogramming a little bit is like, yeah, we are conditioned, and people can call it brainwashing. I actually find that to be a little too pedantic, because I don't
Mm,
think that the intentions directly of people teaching it. It's just like we're passing on tradition, and
sure.
it might not be the healthiest tradition, but it's tradition nonetheless. And
Mhm.
maybe the origins systemically were about control, right? Fear. And I believe that most religions are essentially have always been that. And then the people
Mhm.
that care the least about people tend to be the ones that are running the ship. And
Mhm.
and so you look at that, and I think that that's where like it goes astray. But it's the recognizing, oh, any good moment now, we have to capitalize God in this moment. It's a little
Mm.
selfish. And
Yeah.
let's just say that there is some deity out there. Okay, let's say that this deity sees you having a beautiful experience, and if I was that powerful and that vast, I would not fucking care to get the credit for that. I would want you to have a good time. Here at Disneyland, I don't want you to think God is blessing me now. Have a fucking time and sing It's a Small World.
If I'm
Like,
God, I hope I'm too busy. Like
yeah,
I
like,
don't give
oh,
a shit about your T-ball game. I don't know.
yeah. Or like when you win that Academy Award, like, I like to thank God,
Ugh.
like,
Isn't it it's main character energy? Like I've been selected by God to win this Oscar.
yeah, it's
All
weird, isn't it?
everything that's happened in history has led us to this moment, so I can win this
Yeah.
stupid Oscar. Like
It's
It
super
just,
weird, isn't it? It's such a weird situation, but how weird is that confirmation bias? It's like, oh, I just won this. It's because of God.
yeah.
But if you didn't win, would you still thank God?
No.
Would you think that God, like,
Well, God has a plan.
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
sure,
I
sure.
guess. Yeah, it's just it is always about control. And I think that's one of the reasons, like, as somebody who didn't really grow up in the religion, I just simply don't relate for that desire for control. Or maybe like it's a more
Mhm.
masculine thing and I just don't have that. And like I said, I'm competitive, like I'm a hard worker, but like I don't have the desire to like play people chess with the people around me. And
Yeah,
a thing I bring up on the show a lot, especially when we're talking about like raising kids and things like that, and how adults with their fully cooked brains are treating like 6-year-olds who have no idea what's going on. And they'll just like wallop the shit out of them and pretend that that's a thing worth doing. And every time we hear a story about this, I say, like, one of the horses I work with is like 2,000 pounds and he's a dum dum. Like, he will just swing his butt around. Do you know how often I hit him? Never. I don't hit.
never.
I would never hit. And he could kill me if he wanted to.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't. Why would I hit him? Like, that's not what I'm doing. Like, that's an act of anger. That's not an act of correction or teaching. That is me being
Mm,
mad. And
yeah.
I and it's, again, I do not understand how you could be a person with like a kid and just like, what she needs is like a fucking slap across the face. Like, how, and then at the same time go to Congress and be like, children are precious and we need to keep them away from drag queens. Like, it's just this insane way of like bouncing around of, this isn't bad but this is, and like we're gonna find a real big bad. It's just, it makes me feel like a crazy person.
And meanwhile, your responsibility as a woman is to provide children and
Mm-hmm,
serve your husband. Like,
mm-hmm,
let's just not even add the other side of that culture of like hyper religiosity, and that is the oppression of women. So like, my story is, it's queer centric, but it's still sick in the sense that, like, I mean, yeah, the fact that it censors women and it takes power away from them, rightful power
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
rightful influence and necessary communal influence. Like,
mm-hmm.
it's just super sad, and I think I look back, like, having this conversation with you just like sparks weird memories about like maybe when, oh, like, don't think about that thought that you have right now. That's Satan tempting you, because I would have moments where it's just like, why do these women still have to be like bonnet wearing pioneer housemakers? And my mother was never like that. Oh, and I wanted to say this too. Like, when my family found out that I went through reparative therapy for all those years secretly,
Oh,
my dad, I mean, crumbled, cried. He's like, Benji, he's like, why
devastating.
didn't you tell me? And if that were the case, I would have set the damn place on fire. So
Oh,
my entire family
Benji.
in tandem, they all left the church in support of me. So, you know what I mean? So like, like, they saw that I tried everything that I possibly could. They knew that I was attracted to men and that I was going through all the therapies. And, my sister really defended me a lot too when she was on
Mhm.
TV and there was rumors. And, she would be like my biggest protector, my biggest like defender.
She seems
And,
great. She just
yeah, like,
seems really lovely.
my sister and I are like super, super tight. We're absolute assholes to one another. Like, the
Of
amount
course.
of like shit we send each other via text every day is just so blissful, and it's so right. And
Oh,
we make fun of each other more than anything, and it's our love language. So, it's just one of those things. And that's also kind of why, like, I know for me, I've just always been somebody that's never really connected with like strict groups of people, but being part of a religion, because of that kind of personality, you do feel like you have a place.
sure.
Being like this pseudo queer person in the dance world, but partner dancing, and there's these pressures of certain roles that you have to fulfill. Like,
Mhm,
I always felt like an outsider, almost imposter
mhm,
syndrome.
mhm.
At school, I was made fun of for being a dancer, despite the fact that I'm like the biggest Lakers fan on planet Earth and wanted to pretend I was Kobe Bryant on the playground. And, uh, and meanwhile, I also liked watching Gem and the Misfits. So it's like, it's this
Yeah.
weird like duality of it all. And, but I think that that's why religion sometimes still captures, I think, some bright people, and people, like, if you just got them out of that, and if we could have like more situations, things that you're providing in this podcast, like if you could have a community of like positive minded people that are kind, that aren't just like the bitter, angry, aggressive atheists that we always get this label of, right? And
Yeah.
if we could, create more spaces like that, I think that we would get less and we're getting less and less people needing religion. And I think because of that, there's like a double pushback right now happening societally, isn't it? And it's
there's definitely
garbage.
the galvanization of it all. And I think you made an interesting point about like you're a big Lakers fan, but you're a dancer and that's what defined you. I feel like, kids these days or whatever. So like 15 years ago, I heard an interview with one of the guys from True Blood, one of the big boys from True Blood. And he's like,
I choreographed on that show. Yeah.
Did you really?
Choreography for True Blood. Yeah. Fun times.
I'm gonna watch that show now. I've only watched the first season. Is it good? Of course, it's good. You choreographed it.
I'm gonna let you know. I work on a lot of projects. I almost never watch them. Never. Like one of the only. I just don't do it. I hate watching my stuff. So, yeah,
that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
But beep bop boop, she lost it.
Oh, but like one of the big guys from.
I'm a big tough guy and I've got big biceps, but I play D&D. I'm and people were like, what?
Yeah.
Who? And I feel like maybe 10 years ago, things started break open a little bit of like, you do not have to be this performative masculine person. Like, you don't have to, being a man, being a woman, being a person doesn't have to look like anything. It can be, I can be a Lakers fan and a ballet dancer. I can be like all of these things can be true. And I hope that we're getting better about kind of accepting it.
Yeah.
But I've also gotten to a point, and maybe it's because I just turned 40 of like, I don't really need anybody's permission anymore.
You look
like
amazing.
You're in the same place.
You look amazing.
Oh my God. Thank you so 40. Much.
That's awesome. I'm 42. That. I get it. We're all in that age,
We're so beautiful. Yeah. We also look great. But like, I remember having a conversation with my mom, who's a very like, what will people think kind of person. That's sort of her. And I finally told her when she, like, oh, what are people going to think when X, Y, Z? And I finally told her like, Mom, they can't hurt me anymore. Like whoever these people are that we're constantly imagining, which is, by the way, like you learn about like how my parents talked about other people or how I assumed people talked about me. So it was a lot of like fat shaming and shit like that. And so you go through your life with this idea of like, wherever I go, I'm being judged off of my weight or whatever. And it's true of like dancers. It's true of, and to realize, and it took me so long to and I gained weight and my parents were like mad at me about it. And it sucks. But like, you get to a point where it's like, oh, okay. So-and-so told me I was fat and this person called me like a cunt on my reviews and like, you can't hurt me anymore. Like you can't. People say the meanest things about me on reviews. It's better now because I read them all out loud if they say something terrible about me and it makes me laugh really loud. But like, and honestly, I've been doing this podcast for 12 years. I've been doing the blog since 2012. Like I've heard everything somebody can say about me, about my intelligence, about what I look like. I famously get in fights at bars because men will say terrible things to me. And I'm like, oh, good news. You got the meanest bitch in this bar mad at you. Yeah, exactly.
Go.
And like, because they can't hurt me anymore. Like I worked so hard to try to be the person I was quote unquote supposed to be. I tried to work in marketing and do a 9-to-5 and I fucking hated it. And I was terrible at it. And this I can do. I can talk to people an hour after, an hour late because I'm an asshole. But like trying to be somebody's expectation. And I can't imagine in like the dance world. I minored in dance, incomplete minor in dance, Ball State University. Don't worry about it.
Hey, come on.
Yeah. No big deal. Took a clogging class, not to brag, which clogging has very interesting roots in Appalachia.
Yeah, it does.
But like I got out before and I was never a serious dancer and I was never a competitive dancer. So I didn't have this sort of constraints on me. You certainly live your life and like people are literally judging you based on like your actions and your movements. And is it hard to turn that off in your brain?
So, for me, I'm a unique case, I think, in the sense that I remember
Love getting
my
criticized
last
from you.
competitive partner, just to kind of put it into perspective, I'm such a my inner voice for myself is like really dark. It's really, 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 really dark. And it's not just like the suicidality that I've had, but it's more like constant imposter syndrome and things that
Oh
I've
yeah.
worked through. But like when I'm dancing, when I'm practicing, I know nobody as like tough as me,
Mhm.
as like critical, and that's only to myself. It's not really to others, but like
Mhm.
I take it as serious as a seizure, you know. And
Mhm.
so for me, like I still practice every day. I'm not doing any competitions. I don't care.
Mhm.
Like for me, it's more than that. Like it's just something that I have in me, and I'm hyper analytical. And it stems from probably like a lot of trauma. I think it stems from like the religious stuff, me having to constantly do mental gymnastics. And then once I just let go of that, it's like, oh, I've got all this free cognitive space. So I'm just going
Yes.
to think about everything. But I went through a time when I was on So You Think, there was these message boards called Idol forums, because it started from like the American Idol. Yeah, and like there is like a website. Someone bought a domain like benjismutanthands.com. And so there would be like screenshots, because I have like really big palms and stubby sausage fingers. Thanks, Dad. And yeah, so like
That's so
Benji's mutant
funny.
hands. And I had like I had like really bad, really, really bad body image issues, like horrific
Yeah.
body image
Because what are you
issues.
gonna do at your fucking hands, Benji? They're your hands. You
Yeah,
can't
and
have
not only
anything
that,
with
like my
your
hands can
hands.
create some good shit, like I'm a good leader and dancer, and
Yeah.
I give good back rubs because they're mutants. So, it is what it is, right? But I think in terms of my own voice, no criticism that I've ever heard from anyone else has ever hurt me as much as my own inner voice. And so, and I think I'm an extreme breed when it comes to that. Like that's where like
Mhm.
the like extreme competitor. Like
Mhm.
I remember one time, Kobe Bryant was just like a huge idol of mine as a competitor, like his mindset. I went to like his back doctors, his trainers on off seasons to prepare for competitions, like that like extreme level, right?
Wow.
And I remember one time, like there was this, I was in a room for Spike TV. I was choreographing something and performed on it, and like LeBron James walks by, and all the guys are like going up and saying hi, and someone's like, do you want to go say hi to him? I'm like, oh, it's okay, he's probably busy and doing his thing. And they're like, but it's LeBron James, why don't you go say hi to him? I'm like, well, I've got more world titles than him. That was like my honest to
No.
God, I'm focused, I'm about to perform. And it's like, why would we even want to say hi to people right now? We're about to perform. We have to execute and think about these things. And then, like, to put that, and he overheard it and he turned around and I said, yeah, I said, if you combine your world titles with Kobe's and MJ's, I still have more than you, dude. And he looks at me like, this motherfucker.
Then he murdered you and you're a ghost now talking to me?
So, but but see, the thing is, like those kinds of competitors, they pick up on it, like game or mentally ill, recognize mentally ill, and however you want to slice it. And it's so for me, like, yeah, anyone's criticism has never been worse than my own. I mean,
Mm.
for all of my life. I even at one point remember, this is a weird story. My parents were divorced, but I would still bring them in to coach me before competitions. So like talk about like chemistry, right? And I'm really intense. It's got to be right. We're perfection. And there's a door that I'm allowed to punch and kick. There's like holes all over it. We put frames on it in our dance studio, right? Oh yeah, like I'm extreme, and I never yell at my dance
Wow.
partner. That's my rule. I never direct any frustration at them. I direct it on me, and I punch walls. And so not people. And yeah, so one day my parents and I was really prepared this year, and we did a really good session, showed our rough draft of like our competitive routine for the season. And I could see midway through the performance, my parents going from like really hypercritical coaches, because they're really good coaches. My parents are like so honest, right? And not in anything else, but when they're on the dance floor, like again, there's that duality, right?
Uh-huh.
So I remember we're doing this, we do like a little run, and I could see their posture change halfway through, and they turn into like proud parents. I could see them shift from like, we're gonna burn you, can't wait to break you down, to like, oh, like good job. And they sat there and they're like, we really don't have notes. That was great. You guys were so proud. You're so ahead this season. And I went, no, boom. And I literally flipped off both of them to their faces. And I said, in this fucking room, you were my coaches, not my parents. I love you both. Fucking coach me. Fucking coach me. And I would never, by the way, out of the dance room, I would never talk to my parents like this ever. Like I love my parents so much. Like I love them. They're some of my they've been over time like my closest friends. Like really, I love my parents. But I did that. And what's funny is the moment I did that, they went, "Oh, okay." Boom. And they start like writing notes, break us down. And I'm like, yes, this is the best day ever for practice. And that's that kind of level of extreme. So for me, I can't necessarily relate, but I love the fact that you've heard it all so much that it's like, what do you got? I'm Teflon. Let's go.
What do you have new? What's a new thing you can say that's mean about me that A, you're right, I haven't said about myself in the mirror a million times, and B, like another chode in his mom's basement has said about me. It's
another chode.
I mean, it's just like they have this anger. Well, they get angry because I am angry, because I yell, because I'm a yeller. But like when I'm yelling, I'm getting mad about like the Catholic Church systematically covering up child abuse over a series of years. And I just think that's something worth getting mad about.
Yeah. And the politicians that are sponsored to protect said individuals and the shitty bureaucracy behind it all. Yeah, I've experienced that firsthand, albeit not Catholicism, but a similar thing has happened in Mormonism too. There's a massive class action lawsuit, and it's infuriating. And if we're not mad about it, then you're complicit. And if God exists, I'm sure he fucking hates you.
Yeah, Hammett and I, no, girl,
sorry,
that's nothing that's not been said on this podcast before. Hammett, my co-host and I often get in an argument about, he's very much like, if you're a Mormon, what the fuck if you are a good Christian person, what the fuck are you still doing in the Mormon church? Like, you know what they're doing. Same with Catholics. Like, if you're a good person, how dare you support the Catholic Church if they keep doing this? And I get it. And I think he's right in a lot of respects, but I also think that there is space to improve the Mormon church, space to improve the Catholic Church. And do you feel any kind of way about that? Like, do you think it's going to take a mass exodus for them to change something? Or do you think there's incremental change that could happen?
I think that mass exoduses have been happening since the age of the internet. And especially with like podcasts such as Mormon Stories in particular, shout out to John Dehlin. I mean, it's so bad now that the Mormon Church is trying to sue Mormon Stories for using the word Mormon in their title. And they've been around for like forever. I came out through their Mormon Stories pod, the video that we did, and got picked up by like Perez Hilton when I came out. It was like a thing. And then the Mormon Church was so mad. That's when they asked me to like get baptized again. So when it comes to like reform, one, for me, like, I have no desire to reform a religion that I believed in so wholeheartedly that if they were to change, it just proves that they're false. And I feel like that's what a lot of churches unfortunately go through is we've claimed our stakes. We say God is the same today, yesterday, and forever. So why would we change policy? And then yet you can also say, well, with God, all things are possible. So maybe we can change because it's his will, right? With regards to Mormonism and it changing, my only desire for the Mormon church, and the same would be for the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church has had a lot more time to evolve and kind of desensitize and kind of numb its behaviors. Mormonism essentially is like a green banana, but it is the most extreme of like the global religions that we have right now in terms of like post Methodist Christianity. You do have like the Jehovah's Witnesses as well, but they're a lot smaller in that sense, but they're definitely much more extreme. That's a whole nother story for another time, I'm sure. But my only concern is like you hope to kind of change the culture enough so that there's a safe space for those that don't fit, those that are in the fringes of, a cookie cutter place where you have to fit a certain mold, and those that don't fit that mold. I just want, society or culture within like Mormonism to change to the point where we know that like suicide is not an option and that you're going to have a good life whether you're part of this institution or not. I don't think Mormonism will ever concede to that. However, they've done like little things bit by bit to kind of change their PR, and it's always a PR thing. It's never about actually helping people. It's about power. It's about numbers. It's always been that way, and I don't think it's ever going to change.
Always.
But with Catholicism, like, you have a new pope, and that was not a divine thing, obviously. I think the whole voting system just shows that it's not divine. It's fucking weird. And I'm married to a Catholic, so, from Italy. So, like, we have a lot of Vatican in the house as well. And it's fascinating.
My people, Chicago Pope.
Hey,
it was a fun month for us in Chicago.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was a party. Yeah. So I agree with you in the sense that like you hope that culturally it changes so that it's a safe space. But as far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned, the only thing that's really going to fix these situations is if there's like a full admittance to their lack of truth.
Mm.
And it's just going to break too many people. So like you're in this damned if you do. It's like a methadone. Like you
Yeah.
can't take anybody off this medication unless they fall out. I just want them to have a safe space to land. I don't think
Mhm.
that there's a perfect solution other than that. And what I hope is that like people within it, and I one of my best friends still to this day, we've gone up and down and had our issues over the past, but we're even thinking about having like an active Mormon versus and an ex-Mormon podcast where we just talk about themes and try and find a happy medium.
Love that.
One of
That
my best
sounds fun.
friends. We're thinking about doing it. I don't know, but and he's a leader in the Mormon Church.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a leader, and our paths have crossed in such weird ways. Like I served a mission he didn't. Like yeah. So like, there's these really weird things, and so we had a really great conversation one time, and I thought this was a sign of change. And I think it's
Mm.
because I left, and he had to come face to face with the fact that like, does he think I'm going to go to hell? You know,
100%.
do you think, because I remember when like my Mormon like conversion therapy people, when they would like drop off by the wayside and leave Mormonism, I never had this feeling in my life that they were damned to like
Mm.
hellfire, brimstone, and outer darkness, although I felt that if
Mm.
I did that I would. So there's that odd, distance between like loving others and not loving yourself at all. And with him, I remember one time I asked him, I said, what happens if your son, I'm not going to name his name, but what happens if your son it turns out to be gay? Because I said, why do you stay knowing that they're abusive to people? I said, Ricky,
Mhm.
you were tempted to leave Mormonism at one point because of what I went through and the
Mm.
torture that I went through. He's like, yeah, it shook me up for a little bit, but I stay because I
Right.
love it and I believe in it, and I think it's a great place to raise kids. I said, is it? Is it a
As
great
long as
place
they're
to?
straight cis kids, like, I
Yeah, I said,
guess.
what
And probably
happens?
boys.
Yeah, what happens if your daughter turns out to be trans or like and then he said something that was really interesting, and I loved it because it felt like it was the most he could give me without
Yes.
giving me everything. And he
I know
literally
exactly
said,
what you mean.
Benj, he's like, if my son happens to be gay in the future, and I don't think he's same-sex attracted, but if he were to be gay, I would immediately let him know that that's one, it's okay, and we're gonna go visit Uncle Benji's house and hang out. And we're just gonna get inundated with that. And he's like, I know that he has a good uncle to help him if that were the choices that he made in his life, and if that were to be the case. So at least there's that
That was a pretty
he's
good
ex-
answer, all things considered. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. For being an active leader in the Mormon church, for him to say that, he was basically saying it's more worthwhile that you live this life than not. And I think that vernacular is starting to change. Like that
mm,
mentality of like, I'd rather a dead son than a gay son. That I'd rather a trans daughter, or I'd rather like a dead
a
daughter than a
dead,
trans son.
yeah.
So I think it's better that I think that's starting to happen a lot more, despite what we see from like hyper MAGA uh
I-
neocon
Yeah.
culture. But yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Well, this was such a pleasure. Wow, what a joy this was. I really, really enjoyed speaking with you, Benji.
You too. You're wonderful. And you're doing not God's work.
Doing my work. um, Benji, tell me about your podcast so we can plug that.
Oh gosh, okay. So we're only on episode 3, but they're like video edited sequences. So it's a little different. It's not just interview based, but it's called the Modern Swing Podcast. It's only on YouTube right now. And it really is revolved around swing dancing. Like it's revolved around some historicity, stuff that's happening in the culture, but sometimes it relates to what's happening in the world. Like there is a bit of a direct correlation. So we have history, we dig back into like old stories of how, because West Coast swing or modern swing, it's like the most popular partner dance online, meaning it's the fastest growing partner dance in the world.
Hmm.
And it's the most viral. You'll see like improvisational videos that we do just kind of go viral randomly.
Mhm.
A lot of those are students or friends and partners of mine. And because it's a dance that doesn't have a genre of music. and it doesn't have a specific role that you have to dance, and you can wear whatever you want.
Interesting.
You can express however you want. There are some technical aspects to it, but it's the freest moving of partner dances in the world. And you can kind
Uh,
of add your own. If you have ballet, you can approach it with balletic style. If you have Latin, if you have hip hop, tap,
mm.
you can add like nuances to it stylistically. There's not a style. You add your own, which is kind of cool. So we talk about like that, and we talk about we show like videos that formulated it, and or how, like, it used to be very sexist culture. Like in 1997, it's when somebody wore pants for the first time in a competition, and we talk about
Wow.
why. We interview them, so it's talking about life, but through the lens of swing dancing is kind of my hope more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a great project for you. That's so
Thank
cool.
you.
I can't wait to, I'm
Thanks.
going to watch it tonight for
Thanks.
sure.
Episode
Because
two,
I,
I think you'll like, because we talk about the history of swing. There's a little video
heck
montage. I think
yes.
you'll appreciate it.
Ugh, I love that. Do you guys talk about the Lindy Hop? For some reason, I loved doing the Lindy Hop. I
Well, I
just,
mean, yeah, Lindy is our essential, our origin and our roots. But if you go further back before like swing dancing, swing, it was never called swing. It was originally Lindy Hop, Charles Lindenberg Hop, right? Shorty
famous monkey,
George.
Charles
Yeah.
Lindenberg.
Yeah. So there's some really interesting stuff there, but it all came from the jockey step. It all came from slaves, doing
Ugh,
the ring shout from West Africa.
I
And
can't wait to learn more about this.
that's fun.
Okay. All right. Benji, thank you so much genuinely for your time. Again, my apologize for starting late and with like an insane energy. I was just living a nightmare.
You're
It truly,
fantastic. Are you kidding me? It's not a big deal at all. Thank you.
I really like, I feel so sad that So You Think You Can Dance was a not positive experience for you, because it truly is something that has brought me a ton of joy, and like it's just sort of like a part of my vocabulary of dance, I guess, at this point. And it's lovely, and I love watching like the Oscars. I'm like, I know that guy, I know that guy.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite games. Alex Wong is everywhere.
Yeah.
Alex Wong is in literally everything. But anyway, so your podcast is Modern Swing?
Modern Swing podcast. I
Modern
was going to
Swing
say,
podcast.
it's funny that you mentioned that though, but like, think about how that correlates to religion.
Tell me.
So if you were part of a religion and it's keeping you happy, but somebody else is
Mm,
suffering from it who
mhm.
served in it, it's a similar
Yeah,
dynamic, isn't it?
it
Just like
really
food for
is.
thought. So like, yeah, so like, I don't know. And also too, like, my Mormon experience and that So You Think they really overlapped at like very formative times in my life. And I
Sure.
think it's really hard for me even still to this day to kind of like sift through the difference. And so there was other things that happened, especially on tour, but those are like things that, when the book happens and I'm ready to just like burn Hollywood down, I'll say
Yes.
it. But
Yes.
maybe off recording, I'll share some interesting stories of like the craziest shit that went on during that time. The drugs, the sabotage, the ruining costumes behind the scenes. Oh yeah. Like really sick stuff. Sleeping with producers to get like a good light or a good camera angle. Like if you think it could happen, it did. Not with everybody. Like I kept to myself with Danielle and Heidi. We hung out and that was it.
Oh,
Like
I bet that was
really.
the funnest little trio.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of like the oddballs out. Like none of
Sure.
us really partied. Like most people did. I mean, and that's not saying like everybody, but like those that stuck around long enough, like we were kind of the outcast. In fact, everybody had like a friendship bracelet except for the three of us. We were
Oh, my
never
heart.
offered to be part of like the team. We
Oh
loved it. We're like, who cares? Too
no.
old for this
Oh,
shit.
sweet little boys. I have to imagine you cannot watch reality TV, right? Or
I've never
can
even
you?
seen an episode of So You Think You Can Dance. I've choreographed on the show, never watched it. I've never seen an episode of So You Think You Can Dance. That's what I'm trying to say. Like when you ask, it's like, well, I can talk about my behind the scenes experience.
Yeah.
The highest moment I've ever had from that show though was not winning it. It's probably like a tie. It's the first time we walked on that live stage. So people had seen the auditions for weeks, and that was like 6 months before. So you're just kind of festering in silence. You sign an
Wow.
NDA,
You can't
and then
tell
you and
anybody
then
what's
you
going on with
stand on
you.
the stage and you're about to compete. You do this walk on. They call your name out, and like the screams. It's like, oh, people like me. what? Like, what is this, you know? And I'll tell you, like, that was such, I remember when the lights turned on, we're all posed on the stage and just hearing the crowd. And it's a small group, it's a small stage, right? Small
Yeah.
sound stage, but it was an emotional like high. And then the very first day the curtain lifted up when we were on a national tour, we were at Madison Square Garden, the first dance tour that ever sold out, Madison Square Garden ever, 2 days as well in a row.
Wow.
And I remember when the curtain opened and hearing like such a prestigious, like historical
Mm.
place, and hearing people like connect with our little 8 counts and our shitty routines that we didn't even choreograph. Like, it's pretty cool, you know? And I've only seen like little clips right before my dance partner Danielle, when she was in hospice. I visited her and we hung out, and she's like, we're watching us. And I'm like, no, don't do it. She's like, Benji, I'm dying. We're watching it. I'm like, okay, here we go.
How did it feel
So
to watch it?
with her, it was beautiful. It was nostalgic, and we were both like going, oh, together, like in sync too. So it was a really good bonding experience of being completely self-deprecating, and it brought back a lot of memories of like our camaraderie and how we were kind of the oddballs of the cast, and
Mm.
how we made it work and we survived and we love one another so much. And so that was cool. You know, that was really cool. And it's funny because you think about all those times, and you think about, you know, death, and you know, she brings that up because Danielle just passed away like of a 9-year battle of breast cancer. And but like, weird things have happened, and I've had dreams about her, you know. And 6 minutes after she died, I was asleep when she passed away. Unfortunately, I was supposed to visit her that evening, and like, I had this dream that we were dancing on stage together. And she looked beautiful, she looked healthy, and I'm like, Danielle, you're not sick? She's like, I know, I'm all better. Let's dance. And we danced on a stage together. And then she's like, I gotta go, and she just floats back. I wake up, and like 15 minutes later, I find out she passes away. So you
Ugh.
hear those things, and it's like, God, fuck, like maybe intelligence, it's matter that lives forever, just in different
Yeah.
spheres of reality. I'd rather believe that than Mr. Man upstairs saying that we're not worthy, and if we are worthy, we can have multiple wives. And
Yeah.
you know, I'd rather accept the alternative of like, maybe, you know.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
yeah,
Okay. Benji, thank you so much.
thanks for having me.
I hope we can stay in touch, and
Please do.
thank you again for coming on this show. I am going to go ahead and end it, and hopefully everything went super great.